All right, we are back. Our continuing coverage of our 10-year anniversary and also that little thing called the election. We will be joined in the coming hour by, Ben Dixon, but also, do we have him? Some Air America folks and some Air America and the latest edition of the Majority Report folk. Lauren, Dorsey, are you there?
Here they come.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Lauren Kirchner, who folks who have listened to this show forever, back in the Air America days, will remember from Seder on Sundays. Lauren, it's great to see you. It's been way too long. There's Dorsey Shaw. Wow, look at that backdrop you got, dude.
It's all real, too.
Wow. And Dorsey, who was the original producer of this program, this podcast, years ago. Well, Lauren, tell us what you've been doing for, I don't know, the past 10, 12 years.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was trying to remember when even we worked together. It was Seder on Sundays was the name of the show. Right. And, I think it was like 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Something happened with your other show where
you guys sort of got fired by. Oh yeah, you worked on that one too, on the Sam Seder show, right?
I think I was call screener every once in a while, and then they fired you or tried to fire you or something, and then they were like, as a consolation prize, you may now have the worst time slot ever in radio, Sunday evening for like 2 hours, and you may have the worst producer ever, who has never done anything before, doesn't know what she's doing.
You were great. You were great. The time was bad. But I mean, I think I remember Mark Green coming in to the studio and saying, hey, listen, I think you're really going to like the guy who's replacing you. Which in and of itself was just, I don't know what kind of moron you have to be to say that to somebody. But then it turned out it was Lionel, who is a QAnon guy.
I was going to guess it was Montel Williams, because that also happened.
It was Lionel. But Lauren, people still, fans of this show who are longtime fans, still talk about you years later. And we should also say that Dorsey, I told the story earlier, Dorsey, that there are two people who are responsible for the show. One of them, I mean, just completely would not have happened. One is Kyle Shank, who I ran into at Netroots Nation, and he had years and years earlier was responsible for setting up the Adam Nagorny fake blog that we had run like 2004. And he came up and he said, you should do a podcast like Marin. And I'm like, I want to take calls. I'll build that for you. Okay. And then I ran into Dorsey and I'm like, I don't know. I might do this podcast, but I don't know. I need somebody to produce it. And you said, I'll do it. And I'm like, I just don't have any money. He's like, okay, I'll do it. And Dorsey set it up with Evan, who just, I don't know, was you your roommate at the time?
He was my roommate.
My boyfriend and our
Lauren's
roommate.
boyfriend.
We all lived together.
It was very incestuous in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what was going on at your apartment.
Evan and I are now married. He's in the other room taking care of our 2-year-old.
Evan,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, on the 2-year-old and obviously Evan too. Say Evan, but don't wake up the child.
Yeah.
And I understand what a nightmare that is. So Lauren, you've been doing some great reporting over the years.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I left Air America to, I was there, I think, until 2009. and then went to journalism school. Went back to school to try to figure out my life. And I'm right now. I'm at the Markup. It's a startup nonprofit investigative news site focused on tech accountability.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot
accountable.
involved in that going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good time to be doing this kind of reporting. It's exciting.
And Dorsey, what are you doing these days?
Dorsey.
What am I not doing? In the morning, I do the AM Quickie. I produce that for Majority FM. A lot of fun. Keeps me busy every day. And after that, I do social media all day for the Majority Report.
People ask all the time, who does your email? Who does your accounts? And of course I say we have a bot that does it.
Yes, that's what we were going with. But this is the big reveal for the 10-year anniversary, I think. So it's me. And then after that, I produced the Nomiki show. It's quite a long day, but it's a good day. Love it.
I love that backdrop, Dorsey.
It's pretty cool. I drove here with my partner to Chicago. We're visiting her family, and I was like, I have to use this as the backdrop if I'm going to go on tonight.
That's pretty good. That's like a full-on cable. That's a full-on cable.
It's my Olbermann light.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty impressive. So what are you guys doing tonight in terms of like dealing with aside from putting your child to bed, Lauren, what do you guys just start to drink heavily now? What do you do?
Oh, yes. Oh, definitely. And since it's daylight savings time, I've heard we can start earlier now. It's at, now I'm looking at my clock. It's time to start drinking now for sure.
Oh, you mean, because this is sort of like really 7:20.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be good. And Dorsey, what are you doing? You're drinking too, I imagine.
I'm going to be doing social media for the show, Sam.
Yeah.
It's not like you need to be sober for that. Probably better that you're not.
I'm fresh out of CBD, so I might drink some wine.
There you go. All right. Well, guys, listen, I appreciate your hopping on. Dorsey, well, first of all, Lauren, it's great to see you. And thank you for coming on and saying hi, everybody. I think my IMs are exploding now with excitement.
Dude, congratulations. I mean, 10 years it's such an amazing feat. Like the fact that you've been able to keep going and build something. I mean, your audience now is probably 100 times bigger than it was on terrestrial radio. And I just think what you're doing is amazing.
All right. Well, thank you.
So, glad I could help celebrate it. Thank
you. Thank you so much for coming on. And Dorsey, thank you. Honestly, if you had not, you remember I was like very ambivalent about starting this thing. I was like, I don't know. And, we wouldn't even, I think it took me like 2 years before I would even do an annual, or 3 years before I even contemplate an annual membership. Because I was like, I may stop like in 2 weeks or something. And, but you were so enthusiastic, like so like gung ho. I was like, I guess I got to do it now. Like I had no.
Yeah,
excuse.
that's what happens. I mean, I was like a true fan. I'd been listening since like when I was living in San Francisco in 2005 to you and Janine, and when I got to work at Air America, I was like, there he is, So I was a big fan, and I was happy to work for you, man. Happy to help you get it going.
Well, thank you again, both you guys. Really appreciate it. And, we'll see. Maybe we'll wrap this up in a week or two. So we'll.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, Ellen was like, no.
Nope. What? Wait, what? I get to do 12 hours and then we wrap this thing up? Are you serious? All right, guys. Well, I don't know what that was. That was me just getting booted off the phone thing, I think. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and really appreciate it. Say hi to Evan for me. Is he there?
Evan just peeked in and said congratulations.
Yeah, say hi.
Evan, you want to come on?
Evan. No.
Dealing with a tangerine child. Sorry.
I understand. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Good luck to us all tonight.
Good luck,
Thanks,
Sam.
Sam.
We'll see you later. Let me try and call back in. I got.
We are now in the back half of the show, though, Sam.
Oh, really? Are we halfway through? Because I feel
Yeah.
like we could do I feel like we only 1/3 of the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get back in, but the video, I can't. I'm trying to click start video, and it says host stopped it.
Oh, you guys got to let Emma back in. Let's take a quick phone call. Calling from an 805 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name's Nate. I'm from San Diego.
Nate from San Diego. What's on your mind?
Hey, I actually waited a long time for this call. I've been thinking about doing it. But I started listening to your show because of I got a lawyer buddy who's super progressive that I went to college with, who was linking me videos of you taking down libertarians. So a little bit of perspective here. I'm going to try not to get myself into trouble with the Hatch Act because I'm active duty military, but wanted to discuss a little bit some of my, I guess, anecdotal evidence about libertarians in the military, because I think it's an interesting movement that I have a lot of fun arguments with people that I work with.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, so I personally was raised conservative in a conservative county of California, which is obviously a very liberal state. But I think that libertarianism in many ways is like a natural reaction to socially woke conservatives. Like, you know, they hear the whiskey and, you know, guns and weed arguments and they go, oh yeah, that sounds real great. And then I think it kind of stops there. But what's really interesting is because obviously, you know, like the military makes up only maybe 1% of the total population or whatever it is. So it's a fairly small circle, but there's this huge movement of, especially with enlisted guys, moving towards the libertarian side of things who would otherwise be voting conservative. So I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of the news cycle stuff lately of, you know, oh, enlisted aren't behind Trump, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But I don't necessarily know that they're voting for Biden.
You know, I will tell you this, and this is, I don't have the data to back this up, but my sense was just from like in the wake of a unpopular conservative president, it seems to reinvigorate libertarianism. So, you know, when George W. Bush left office, he had something like a 35 or 38% approval rating. And it really, it exploded. I feel like libertarianism. I'm like, it reinvigorated in fact, you know, that's when you got Ron Paul, and that was the original Tea Party. And then that was sort of appropriated, and Koch brothers poured a lot of money into it. And that era was very libertarian.
And also just young people responding to the lack of popularity with like the values that they grew up in. So it's kind of a revolt against the establishment of the party that has that unpopular president too. It's like also associated with youth.
Yeah, I think it's a way of sort of like reinvigorating, you know, a right that has been discredited in some ways.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that, you know, what's good for the progressive movement going forward is that, you know, logically, once you get past the sort of basics of, you know, the I like whiskey, I like weed, I like guns kind of stuff, you start realizing that the views that you have are perhaps more in line with the progressive agenda when it comes to, you know, having some social freedoms and having, you know, the social ability to go do whatever the hell you want to do and to, be whoever you want to be, regardless of race, creed, or upbringing. But I think in the military, especially, some of that libertarian revolt has to do with the fact that, we as people in the military do exist in a wholly socialist system.
I think it's, I mean, I think on some level, there's got to be some cognitive dissonance when you're like, we should not have government run healthcare or even like health insurance when like, wait a second, I have government run healthcare.
I think a lot of the military reacts against that. Especially because, when, we have test-based, rank ups, it's supposed to be merit-based, but how those things
everybody
kind of go.
has a crane,
right? But in general, I think that a lot of people have this sort of sense of, well, I work harder than everybody else and I should get more, but I'm not, so this socialist system, if you will, doesn't work for me. And then they take their anecdotal evidence and they try to apply it to a whole and say, well, the government's bad at everything and we can't have socialized healthcare, so on and so forth. Now I personally don't necessarily agree with that. I think that there's ways to improve upon it. And I think that in general, once again, anecdotal evidence, I think that's like a key sort of phrase here. My overall experience with the, big military sort of medical thing is that they're very good at taking care of the low level stuff. So like you have a flu, you have a cold, you have COVID, you have a broken leg, all that kind of stuff. They're very, very good at that. They're good for things that have established practices. But when it comes to fringe medicine or research-based medicine, where it's, stuff that's kind of cutting edge, or people who have very specific conditions that are rare or something like that, the socialized medicine structures sometimes do struggle with that.
Well, I will say this, and I appreciate the call. Thank you for calling in. Got to remember, you're talking about 1% of the population too. So things that are marginal, it's harder to serve a small percentage of a small percentage. And the larger that pool is, the better you're going to be equipped to offer what are, our marginal services. But appreciate the call. Got to keep it moving. But thanks for calling in. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. You guys do great work.
Thank you very much.
You.
Just a reminder, this entire day is been sponsored by SunsetLakeCBD.com. They got 2 new strains up at the site right now at SunsetLakeCBD.com. Server, which has got 18.9% CBD content. It's the most potent hemp flower they grow. You can also check out Sour Special Sauce with 16.6% CBD. You can get both those for 25% off if you use the promo code VOTE25. Meanwhile, if you use Left is Best, you get 20% off for all other products, which include gummy bears, tincture, a salve with arnica, and smokables, which Matt, who is our smokables expert, says is fantastic to mix in with other smokables. I have been using some of the pre-rolls occasionally, and it's frankly it's a strange sensation. I gotta say, it's relaxing, but you don't get any of the obviously the psycho, what is it called? What is it called?
Psychoactive
qualities of it. It's very relaxing stuff. The tincture has been very helpful in helping me sleep. The salve has been really good for me. Both I've given it to friends for muscle aches, but for me, I've been using it on my eczema because you get super super desperate to try anything, and I threw it on there one time, and I was like, this actually works. But check it out, SunsetLakeCBD.com. Great business practices, great farming and agricultural practices, a great sponsor of this program, and folks have responded very well. We get I got a couple IMs today already about their experience with it, and they like it. All right, we're going to have Ben Dixon on. Do we have Ben Dixon at the ready? And as he's coming on, Emma, you have some stuff to report.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely preliminary, so we'll just take this for what it is. But Kentucky has in between 4.5 and 5.4% of the votes in via decision desk, and Biden is up, but that's not going to hold.
Right.
McGrath is also up, meaning they are counting the Democratic strongholds and likely city areas first. 66% to 32%. Again, just 4.5 to 5.4% of the results in. I guarantee you guys that's not going to hold. They also reported on early voting in Florida, which had the Republicans having a 209,000 basically edge on the Democrats, and in total 10 million or 10.8 million Floridians voted early, and that's all mail-in and in person. And so Republicans have the edge on Democrats there, which contradicts a lot of what was said, where they thought that Democrats would be kind of overwhelming in the early voting. It's turning out, as the numbers are rolling in, and as was anticipated a few days in advance, that it would be a little bit more equal than initially thought.
Wow. I don't really know how to interpret that, but Ben Dixon is here. We just heard that the early voting in Florida is
favored Republicans.
Slightly favors Republicans, which is a little bit disturbing. But who knows? I don't know if that means there was actually, I think it was out of North Carolina, where a significant majority of African-American voters were saying they were going to vote on election day. Like it was like 65%. I think it was North Carolina. And I think that was noted in the internals, the crosstabs of that poll, that was a little bit surprising. But I think there may be some measure. And it was contrary to all the other sort of like partisan breakdowns, if you will. And I imagine, part of that is like people want to make sure their vote is counted, and mailing it in at this point is sort of like there's a lot of treachery going on, essentially.
Yeah. Actually, we're still waiting to get confirmation that our ballots that we dropped off at a secure location last week, to make sure that those have actually been registered. And so there's all sorts of things that people were concerned about when they got up this morning, or when they made the decision yesterday that they were going to go to the polls. So we have to see these results. But this is my first time, Sam, first time hearing that the results so far in Florida are Republican friendly.
I mean, that is, again, we don't know how those votes are cast.
Again, this is like the political polls account. So I wouldn't take it to the bank, but that's basically what they're indicating.
It's Michigan voter 99 too. It's not from the political polls.
Okay. All right. Never mind.
That's Emma. Hey, Emma.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. Welcome. I want to say welcome to the Majority Report, even though it's not my show, but glad to see you over here.
Yeah, no. I mean, I wanted to say hi, but I was trying to determine if that was actually valid information.
All right. Well, let's make sure that what we got we're handing out is, heavily validated, let's say.
Yes.
And I would rather be slightly behind, and that's okay.
All right.
But
I scrapped everything I just said.
Well, yes, I'm glad to hear that, because I didn't need that anxiety already this early in the evening.
We need to, that is, I don't know who you Michigan voter is.
Yeah.
It's unclear to me where that's coming from. But
yeah, this account is usually on point, but I realize that it's not. Like, I don't know why they're retweeting that data from.
And I'm seeing something different on the actual account itself. It's saying the opposite, that there was a $113,000, a 1,000 voter. But I mean, look, this stuff is, I mean, largely irrelevant. I still remember the analysis of Florida in 2016, which is like, this is going to be a huge blockbuster sweep for Democrats. It didn't turn out to be that case. So, I mean, I don't know, Ben. I mean, what is to a certain extent, we're all just sitting here vamping, celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the show, though.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. But, some of the things that we're thinking about is there was this Chuck Schumer, a report from Adnan Girdadis that Chuck Schumer, or I guess an interview, had said, started to lay out an agenda for the first 100 days that involved $15 minimum wage, had talked about climate change and maybe an infrastructure thing, sort of missing was, healthcare. But I mean, and he didn't say anything explicitly about voting rights either, I think, in that. But I would imagine we're going to see that early on. It's really going to be a question of how willing, and maybe the things he's talking about are things you can do in reconciliation, right? Because reconciliation, you need to have something that's going to impact the budget. Voting rights don't necessarily, you couldn't necessarily do that. And it would require maybe getting rid of the filibuster to do that. But I don't know. What are you thinking about at this time, other than just sort of sheer anxiety?
I was doing good with my anxiety until you just reminded me of it, Sam. But to be honest with you, listen, if things pan out the way they should, right, Donald Trump should not be the president for a second term, considering everything that he's done in 2016, between 2016 and 2020 alone, right? So if everything pans out the way that it should pan out, and the way the polls are saying that will pan out, the Democrats are going to have to make a decision. I think they have the potential of taking the White House as well as the Senate and holding the House, right? That's the ideal scenario. At that point, Democrats are going to have to put up or shut up, and they're going to have to implement reforms that are probably giving Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden, quite frankly, some anxiety, right? It's not going to be an easy road for them if they get all three branches, because we're going to have serious expectations for them to reform this system so that the things that Donald Trump exploited over the last 4 years can't be exploited again, and also to undo some of the damage that he's done, particularly in the judiciary.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think that seems to be impacting Chuck Schumer right now is the idea of a primary, and that is, it's possible we could see in New York, and in some respects we're still seeing this with sort of like a Governor or Nixon impact, and the one. Cynthia Nixon, in many respects, pushed Andrew Cuomo, also got rid of the IDC. I think a lot of that is a function of her run.
Yep.
Andrew Cuomo apparently is like sort of working in the background to try and prevent the Democrats from taking a veto-proof majority in the New York State Assembly. Because he wants to be able to veto, or he he wants the threat of his veto to hold up legislation. I mean, this guy really is doing everything he can to prevent more progressive legislation going forward. Because I think he's thinking about the presidency, right?
Still, I hope not. But okay, if he's that ambitious. But here's the thing: like, that style of politics was effective all the way through Super Tuesday of 2020, right? And we got everybody to fall in line, all of the major leftist voices, all of us put our platforms on the line. We all risked our reputations so that we could help prevent a second term of Donald Trump. That said, we are going to cause the Democratic establishment some significant pain, because if they're using those type of tactics, which I expect that they would, to block progressive legislation, which I think they want to block, then we're going to have to primary the hell out of them at every single level, every single stage, from the state level to the federal level, the House, the Senate. We need to organize, because they have run their course just as much as Donald Trump has run his.
Yeah. I mean, the first hour of this program on most days, not today and tomorrow, which is good to know. runs.
Yeah, I mean, Cuomo, just to quickly comment on Cuomo, his effort to capitalize on his COVID response is pretty clear. And then he obviously floated trying to be in Biden's cabinet in that Axios story. It was like the most obvious attempt.
Chief of staff, right?
Yeah, or attorney general or something like that. I could find it right now, but yeah, I mean, and then you're gonna have Kamala Harris in the administration, and a lot of other people who want to run in 2024. Elizabeth Warren's openly vying to be a part of the administration, Treasury Secretary. So there's going to be a lot of people in Biden's cabinet who have further political ambitions in a way, and very close down the line, like in 2024 to run for president in a way I don't think we've ever seen before. Not that he's going to actually even let Elizabeth Warren anywhere near the cabinet, please, but she keeps trying.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is, and I was going to say that I was looking forward to announcing on this on the Peacock app that, like, I hope Joe Biden wins. And then I just want to prepare you folks, like, on day one, we're going to start to, push Biden. And I think, like, the point Emma brings up, and I think both of you on some level, is that, and I keep using this metaphor of, like, the king, that scene with the king, the medieval, whatever show it is, and the king is got consumption, and he's on his deathbed and he's coughing up blood, and there's like 12 people standing around the bed and they're all planning to take over. And that's the type of situation where there's real opportunity, it seems to me, for less, the left is just simply less powerful than maybe corporate entities. But when there's that type of disaggregated power looking to take control, right? That's like how, I don't know, you win an election when there's 20 people running type of situation.
Yeah.
It opens up, it lowers the threshold for what you need. And, the question is like, who's getting ready to take advantage of that? And I feel like, some of that work has been done on the left.
Yeah. And also, I think something that we have to throw into the calculus is that the left has far more institutional power than we've had in my lifetime, right? The reason that Barack Obama was able to basically do whatever he wanted to do and not really give us any attention is because we turned over, by we, I'm just saying the organizations turned over fundraising capacity to Barack Obama during his campaign. Yep. Nobody did that in 2020. Joe Biden can't command the left to do anything. In fact, we can organize around him and put the pressure on him that way. But not only Joe Biden, but everyone who has political aspirations beyond 2020, they're going to be accountable to a left that is mobilized, organized, and well-financed.
Yeah, I agree. This is not going to be there's nothing that is going to be the same as it was in terms of Obama, both in terms of like the deference that the party gives, both in terms of, I think, like the outside institutions, like you say. Over the summer of 2008, the Obama campaign basically said nobody funds outside organizations. All the money comes to us. They had all the energy with Obama for America, and it's almost the exact opposite this time around, right? Like, I mean, what like Joe Biden doesn't seem to have an organization.
Right.
I mean, even his campaign just seems to have been like...
He's not really interested in that kind of politics anyway. I mean, he's interested in compromise in this vague sense, and politics as compromise in and of itself, but not really truly believing in much. And so I think he has more of an ability to be influenced than, say, even Obama from the left in some ways, maybe. But relative to where they were, Obama was to the left of him, but because he doesn't have an ideology that's as set in stone, potentially there's a silver lining there.
Yeah, I think guy's a cipher. Like, I don't know that he's necessarily open to be pushed from the left as much as he's just open to be pushed.
Right.
And, I can see that. And so in that respect, I think it's like, it's encouraging because, but it's going to be a question of, sort of, there's going to have to be leadership in both these houses in some way to carry that torch. And I wonder how much, what do you call it? Chuck Schumer will respond. Nate Silver, it looks as though Republicans will wind up with it around a net plus 2% on party registration. Florida. That's not terrible for them. And they reversed a slight Democratic disadvantage based upon early and absentee voting. But it's also not great.
Right.
Based upon the partisan splits in recent polls of Florida, I estimated that because Biden is doing better among independents in most polls of the state and gets somewhere more crossover votes, the break-even point for Trump win was about an R plus 3.5 in Florida.
Wow.
So just putting into context some of the shaky numbers that I talked about earlier, but that's Silver being more deliberate about it.
This is what he's saying at 7 minutes ago.
Yeah.
That is, if Republicans led in turnout by 3.5 points more, Trump would be the favorite to win. Otherwise, Biden would be. We'll probably end up just to the Biden side of the line. With that said, there's a lot of uncertainty. Some polls. All right. So in other words, it could be good for Biden, or maybe it won't be.
Right.
Florida. I don't know that I can. That's the kind of anxiety that I don't need through the night. But hey, this is our high holy day, right? This is the Super Bowl. This is what we train for.
That's why I predicted Florida goes to Trump at the start of yesterday, because I feel like in Florida, tie goes to the runner, which is tie goes to the Republican, because it's always treated as this swing state and who knows, or same thing with Texas, although Texas I think has a better chance than Florida, or maybe not. I have no idea. I don't know what we'll find out soon enough.
I think Georgia has the best chance of being flipped blue. Even more so than Texas, and Florida still is. It's Florida. I don't know, and I lived there for 20 years. I don't know that I want to give any kind of estimation of what to expect from Florida.
Everybody from Florida that I have spoken to say, no way, it's Florida.
Right.
It's not, I mean, that's basically been.
I mean, those were when I went to all those Trump rallies, I still remember, I was in Eastern Tennessee, and I was in these really rural areas in the South. And the most intense Trump supporters were always in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was, jarring. But of course, anecdotal. But.
And everything I've heard is just that the Democratic Party apparatus in Florida is
I mean, it birthed Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Y'all got to get off Florida, but no, you're right. You're absolutely right. The reason they're in the condition they're in is because the Democratic Party in Florida has made some key mistakes over the years. And I think the closeness with Andrew Gillum is actually one of the bright spots of the Democratic Party in Florida over the last 20 years. So there's a lot to be desired there. But what I'm really looking to see how Georgia is going to pan out, because that would be a gut check. If Republicans are even open to having a gut check, losing something like the state of Georgia really should be a wake up call for them.
Well, and also I think just sort of mathematically, if Joe Biden wins Georgia, it seems to me that there's not a path for Donald Trump. I mean, it presumes Biden wins some other places that are a little bit more low hanging than Georgia. But in Georgia, that would be, I think, it feels like it's been on the precipice, right? I mean, there's a good argument that Stacey Abrams should have won that governor race.
Absolutely.
But for all the
voter suppression,
suppression.
All in all seriousness, Stacey Abrams should be the governor of Georgia right now. And when you look at the organizing that's been taking place on the ground, there are a lot of organizations, including like the Black Male Voter Project. They have been putting in the work, registering at unbelievable rates. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in Georgia, and of course, Florida. We'll see what happens there as well.
Well, Ben, I know you got to go apparently you've got the Benjamin Dixon show. It's so amazing now, just even relative to 4 years ago.
Yeah.
There's leftist media.
Yeah, exactly.
You're killing it, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma.
It's great that you're out there. And it's it's exciting that there's so many. I don't know. Our media universe is just radically changed. It seems.
Yeah, it's really growing. I mean, I've literally been on with somebody's stream at least, I don't know, 12 hours so far today. Looking forward to the next 6 hours that we'll be broadcasting, and we'll be jumping in back and forth and checking out all the streams. But there's so many people who are streaming tonight, and it's a good sign for the future of leftist media.
Also, your home looks cozy. It looks lovely.
I like to welcome people into my humble abode.
Yeah, I feel like I just want to, have a cup of coffee.
Grab a cup of pumpkin spice latte, because I'm about to get me a whole bunch of it to make it through the next 5 hours.
Oh man, I can't. I like my coffee black or with a little bit of skim milk. I can't do any of the sugary stuff.
Oh, well, it's not an actual latte. It's just a coffee flavored pumpkin spice latte. So there you go.
Somehow worse.
It is. It really is.
Ben, thanks so much. Folks can check you out at what's your YouTube stream?
The Benjamin Dixon Show. Just look up Benjamin Dixon and it'll take you right to my channel.
All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Take care, everybody.
Appreciate it. So that's where we're at this point. There's no, it is what it is right now. I mean, we don't have a real sense of what's happening with anything. We can look at those numbers, and that's encouraging from, Nate Silver, but it was basically like, here's something for me to fill something at 6:45, and it's subject to change in 11 minutes or something.
11 minutes, yeah. Or I guess the first results we're going to get will be in 5-ish, but nothing definitive.
Well, polls are closing. They're not necessarily going to announce anything, but it's possible in Georgia, in Indiana, in Kentucky, in South Carolina, in Vermont, and Virginia in 5 minutes. So we shall see. We're going to have David Dayen's going to come up shortly. We're going to be talking to, I think, Sarah Silverman a little bit later. I got to tell Benjamin to call in at one point. Let's take some IMs. Western Mass. Welcome, Emma. Very excited to have you part of the crew. Sam's CBD tincture. Matthew Film Guy, more like Matthew Shill Guy. Can we get an Emma Sports Take section in the fun half? Need more miserable giant fan takes.
It's just I don't. It genuinely affects my mood and my life in a way that isn't healthy. Anyway.
Carl from The Guest, congratulations to Self-Sufficient Me, a YouTube channel about organic gardening that just hit 1 million subs. I've watched that Self-Sufficient Me. I think it's the Australian dude, right? I think, or I'm not sure, but sells those powdered metal gardening. We've hit the wall now. We are about to enter hour 8 of streaming, if you can believe it, 7 o'clock hour. And Emma yawned, and then I just basically, my brain, just completely shut down.
Just missed a step there for a second.
Right.
Gardening beds.
Anyway,
but Carl from the Geest says, have you tried Cosmic Crisp? Very good new apple. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Neff, happy 10th, soft open. 17th will be hard to open anniversary. We're not going to do this twice, Neff. I appreciate that. Lots of love from your number one fan. Way back, Peaches to SOS. Take me to your socialism and everything since. Vocal Fry section. Dude, you got to reprise Jimmy Dore's argument with the Chapo guys. Now's the time.
He argued with the Chapo guys?
No, they're saying, 4 years ago, I had a little bit of an argument with Jimmy Dore leading up to the
that's
election.
Beautiful.
And they want me to do it with the Chapo guys, but it's a slightly different situation. Want to hear Emma reintroduce herself, her experiences in left media, and what she's looking forward to. All right, there you go. Sure.
That's a good way to close out the hour. My name's Emma Vigland. I come from TYT. It was my first gig. They gave me a shot. I worked really hard to do my best and get on air, and was very shaky at first. Still working on it myself, adjusting to different formats. But yeah, I was really pumped when Sam and I started talking about this opportunity, and It just seemed like a really natural fit. And I'm still learning as I go, but I felt like working with Sam, working with all the Majority Report team, who's, they're just the best in the biz. Really, they know everything you need to know. Everything. There's nothing they need to learn, but actually can teach me a lot and make me better. And hopefully I can bring some of my experiences, being on the road, doing some of the infield stuff, which had its challenges, but was definitely a good experience. By the way, and the Trump rally stuff was intense, but I also did other following candidates around and things like that. And of course, I did that series with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez back when she was running the first time around.
Yeah, you were on that. You were like the only person who had a video camera on her right at the beginning.
I think I was maybe the first national media person, and it's like national media, but like someone who doesn't cover local politics, right? So covers other things, to cover her that extensively, basically. So I spent the day with her at her house, and then we toured her neighborhood, which seems inconceivable now with the amount of fame she has. I mean, what was she on the cover of
Vanity Fair?
Vanity Fair the other day. But yeah, she's still awesome. And that was probably one of the biggest moments of my career thus far was getting to do that. So yeah, maybe once we get settled in, I'll have her on the show, or she can take, a second out of her extremely busy life.
She came on before the primary.
I knew that. Yeah.
And it was, first of all, I mean, I was very excited, but it was also, my daughter was,
oh my God,
super, super psyched. And that was,
she's like a celebrity.
That's awesome.
It's insane.
So awesome.
And also just there's a lot of the two most authentic politicians I've ever met in my life are, she's one of them. She's just very easy to talk to. And same with Jamal Bowman, I would say too.
Yeah, and Bowman, I was able to interview really early on. Ring of Fire, we interviewed a lot of candidates who were running, and Bowman was incredibly impressive.
Yeah,
just really impressive as a candidate. A lot of times you interview candidates, and there's the first time they're it's the first interviews they're doing, and they're not so great. And he was. There was a couple where I get off the interview, and my producer and I are like,
yeah,
he's good, or she's good. I mean, with it's pretty nuts in that respect. I can't remember what it is I wanted to.
Those were the two though. When I interviewed, those were the two that stuck out to me as just the most impressive candidates that I ever spoke to before they got into office, and then what do you know, they win.
And it's interesting because I also interviewed Mondaire Jones, who's also quite good, but he had worked in politics,
right?
He had worked in the Obama administration, I think it was, and so there's just a political savvy that's there because you've had that experience. But when you have people like Bowman or AOC who hadn't really been in politics, now I guess she had worked in Kennedy's office, but that was
right. Well, I mean, and Bowman was just mostly, he has charisma of being a high school principal, or principal, not high school, but a principal. Yeah.
But nevertheless, really impressive. Yeah. All right. I would like to welcome to the program the executive editor. Is that we're on hour 8 here, folks, so you have to forgive me, of the American Prospect, David Dayen.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
What do you got? What's going on with the?
Wait a second. I was sent this and by your program, and I assumed it was a wardrobe request.
What is it?
It's the Majority Report do-rag that was sent to me.
Oh, great. I didn't pick that up. I couldn't tell. There you go.
Uh-huh.
There you go. I'm glad.
As long as you're not wearing, I thought it was required.
You thought it was the uniform?
I
actually like people to wear it as an ascot.
I could wear it like a bib.
No, it's an ascot. That's the way that we like
the
it.
Majority Report logo and everything.
There you go. David Dayen has been a guest on this program since its inception, back from like when you were doing, well, I don't know if it was, I can't remember when D-Day, that blog ended, but certainly fired up.
Everyone remembers the history of the D-Day blog. Come on.
I mean,
that's
I would imagine
into the lore and fabric of America.
Honestly, one of like my, like when I look back on my storied career, one of the things I'm genuinely proud of was syndicating your blog for the Air America website.
Oh yeah.
And because Mark Green was like, you're going to be the thing, and we're going to give you $1 million budget. And I was like, really? Great. And then it turned out to be like $150 a month or something. But I could give so I would say like, here's $150. Like, we just going to cross post your blog post at D-Day, I think it was.
Right. Up until the lawsuit for copyright infringement, it was a great arrangement.
It was great until we were enjoined.
But we were in litigation for several years.
So first off, the American Prospect is such a must read for me on a daily basis. Your unsanitized email has been
it's the best.
I'm still basically just ripping it off every day. But as an homage. And so I just, congratulations on all that. Now, what's going on? What's happening? Who's going to win?
Yes. Well, I announced on Twitter that as a member of the media, I would declare the winner of the election and stop all counting. So I'd better come up with something now. I have no reason to go against the prevailing opinion of the polls and just the sort of energy. I think Biden's going to be victorious tonight. I think he's going to get a good bit of those southern swing states, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. He's going to get some, or if not all of them. And, the work will begin. And, I've got a lot of things planned if Biden wins, so he better, because I got a whole issue to change if he doesn't.
I was sort of joking about telling us who was going to win, but I do want to talk about that because I feel like that is, what happens next, assuming Biden wins, is something I feel like that you're really keyed into. We just got an update on Florida. And
there's official results too, with the AP calling Vermont for Biden. These are not shocking. Indiana for Trump, and AP says Kentucky, it goes to Trump too. So shocker. Will you look up what the total vote tally was in Florida in 2016? Yes, I will. Because we have about 1.6 million votes in now, and Biden's up by 12%. I don't know how many votes we can anticipate in Florida, but it's also, I feel like all the models, it's hard to predict with so many people voting this year, right? I mean,
absolutely. I remember in California when there was a significant moves towards online voter registration and finding and targeting voters who had dropped out and were drop-off voters. And I remember being told by a top consultant in California that the chance of California getting a 2/3 majority in the state legislature was about as much as the chance of Obama winning Alabama. And that very year, they got a 2/3 majority. And the reason they did is because the electorate was completely different than everything that the consultant class had known about and modeled and put together. And I really think that's what you're going to see today in places like Texas, in places like Georgia, in places maybe Florida, is an electorate that is just not within the conception of the political class. It's not the level at which they're comfortable with, knowing what turnout looks like and who's going to be coming out in which areas. And that when those all bets are off, I mean, usually that paints a pretty good picture for the Democrat.
The total from 2016 was a little bit under 9.5
Okay,
million.
so 1.6 million is I mean, largely irrelevant to assess anything at this point. Without knowing where it is. I mean, we got to look at like I guess Pinellas County and stuff like that. But let me. I want to get to what happens if Biden wins. But just on that last point, do you have a sense of like people have a conception of who the electorate is, and could be one of those years where it's like there's a wildly different electorate. Who is it that is making up the difference? I mean, I don't know exactly on these numbers, and now I'm 7 hours into this, but if it's the case that 100 million people have already voted before today, and
it is the case.
Yeah. Well, okay, even if they would get like 50 million votes today, that's a significant bump in the size of the electorate. Like who are these extra 30 million people? That's a lot of people. Right. We could not barely fit 30 million people into this studio even.
I know, and cavernous though it may be. Who are those people? I mean, it's a very good question. I think that, and I wrote a piece today with the title, Donald Trump is good for democracy. And what related to that is his presidency activated a lot of people that really had no interest or in politics and thought it didn't affect them in any major way.
So are you saying, David, that Trump winning was better for America than Hillary winning? Better for the left? That was an argument made, which was.
I'm going to steer way clear of 2016 wars, but I do think that if you look at, I think where the turnout is going to be extremely bigger this year, it's going to be in suburban areas where people were relatively comfortable but have been activated by Trump. It's going to be, in communities. I can't tell you how many people I saw we did a piece on a Facebook group called Pennsylvania Women for Biden that has 124,000 people on it. And I can't tell you how many people in that scroll were saying, this is my mom, she's 84 years old, and she's voting for the first time this year. Like so many of those. And I just think that there was an apathetic part of this country that has recognized that politics matters to them.
And the irony is, I think, is that it's not necessarily I don't think these people self-identify as being leftist per se. I think they're just sort of like the I don't know, like you say, the semi-comfortable suburban people who just suddenly realize hey, politics might matter. I mean, it's not. I don't know if this is I don't get the sense that it's as ideological as maybe some of us on the left would want it to be. But there are, in some respects, there could be, and this is a good segue into it. But before I want to segue into, Biden's a cipher. Maybe these folks are a little bit of a cipher, and they can be led in certain directions in terms of, our progressive values. Pop this up on the screen, though. We had Aaron Kleinman on the other day on the program from gosh, I can't remember his thing now. I can't. But he from Future Now. And he said on the show, he said, one of the things to look for is if Biden is getting Donnelly level numbers in Indiana, that's a very, very good sign because it suggests that that this is going to be indicative of who he's turning out. And
absolutely. I'll give you another one. 6 years ago, in his last re-election, Mark Warner went down to the wire. It was like a 1-point race against Ed Gillespie, which nobody foresaw. Mark Warner was just announced the winner at the moment the polls closed in Virginia. So, and Virginia, has a lot of suburban dominance, particularly in the northern part of the state. So, and it's hard to really do the deep comparisons right now with the raw vote total, because we don't know what's early vote and we don't know what's in-person vote. And obviously that has a very different partisan ideological cast, depending on when you voted. So it's hard to extrapolate. We need all the numbers, but I think that from what I've seen, it's fairly consistent with the top line polls in terms of a 6 to 8 point shift for Biden.
Okay, so time will help us with that, but let's project into the future. Biden wins. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, because frankly, it's just if Trump wins, we don't have to be as surgical with our responses. We can just run outside the house and scream and cry. But if Biden wins, give me your sense of that. I mean, let's expand on that sort of analogy with the Facebook crowd. Like, what's happening? I mean, do you have a sense of, one of the things that we found out later after the fact was that in Obama's transition, your buddy Froman from Citigroup was basically making a list that I presume Robert Rubin had sat down with him to make, and said, here are the people that you should have in your cabinet. And it was something like, he's either a really good guesser or had a tremendous amount of influence, because it was something like lined up perfectly.
It was
right?
like everyone but two.
Right. It was like you could take it like he was tracing it. And
that came out a month before the election, by the way. I mean,
yes.
that was in the WikiLeaks stuff. That came out a month before the election.
How dare you speak about that Russian propaganda? You're not allowed to talk about it.
And
here we are 12 years later, and Democrats have a much better sense of the importance of personnel. There is a real set of organizing around who is going to be making the key decisions in a Biden White House.
And by Democrats, you mean sort of like the professional leftists?
Yes, I mean progressives. Yeah, exactly. That doesn't mean that the Wall Street Democrat crowd isn't going to, have the ear of the president and be victorious. Just because you're aware of it and you're working on it doesn't mean you're going to win every fight, but it means you have a chance. Unlike when, Mike Froman was hitting his executive toy and saying, I don't know, Eric Holder, Attorney General, sounds good. Unlike that moment, there's real work going on there. And, it's every time a name is floated, there's going to be a universe of people that are going to weigh in on it. Biden is and really more the Biden team is going to need to think about that and pick their spots. As far as,
and we should just pause
where the pressure is going.
Well, like for instance, you guys wrote a piece the other day about Gina Raimondo, and there was some speculation. She was the governor from Rhode Island who was famous for basically opening up her state pensions to hedge funders. And there was, pushback in the form of like, there's a piece about it, like Gina Raimondo. I don't remember any piece like that, before Obama won in 2008. And that basically alerts people. And all of a sudden, then Biden and the people around him hear like, bad idea. Now, there was some
not only that, but not only that. What we said in that piece and what we were very clear about was that what we thought that information was signaling was the attempt to put in a choice that was very unpalatable to the left in order to make Lael Brainerd, who is seen as the likely choice for Treasury Secretary, look better. And so one of the things that people I talked to for that piece wanted to get across is that we're on to this game. You can't just throw out Chris Christie for Attorney General and then make somebody someone else look better. That's not going to work. So
Biden people do that all the time. Didn't they do that with Elizabeth? Like they did the reverse of that with Elizabeth Warren in 2016. I was talking about this earlier. They did it with Stacey Abrams this year. Like that seems to be their one trick. Let's float a trial balloon, and it will just either it'll make people line up on one side or the other.
Brian Kilmeade's like, why isn't there any reporting on that?
Exactly. But that seems to be their one trick pony.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think that we're more sophisticated now to understand the ins and outs and the contours of that. I mean, I think one thing that's really interesting is the thing that was floated a couple days ago about this blanket ban on senators. That the Biden campaign would say that no member of the U.S. Senate is going to be a choice for a cabinet position. And it was seen as, a way to stop Warren or Sanders from getting into the administration. But they were probably not going to get into the administration. So really, it seemed like a way to stop Klobuchar or Michael Bennett or Chris Coons from getting into the administration. And a way to, say, we know we're going to have a thin margin, if at all, in the U.S. Senate, and we're not going to let it ride on a potential special election the way, we had with Martha Coakley in 2010.
Right.
I think there's a greater sophistication actually on both sides of this right now. And there's so much attention to it that there's less of a margin for error. Now, again, that doesn't mean that, if this was all, if progressives were fully, in charge of the Biden personnel decisions, then I assume the vice president wouldn't be who the vice presidential nominee is. So, it's going to be a hard inside battles are always hard.
Okay.
But
let me ask you this.
There's a general awareness.
So what do for those of us who are way on the outside, like, I mean, on some level, you're not on the inside, but but your job is to like stick your hand through the crack in the door with a flashlight and just sort of like illuminate parts of it, which sometimes impacts people on the inside. They there's a reason why they would do it behind closed doors as opposed to open doors, right? Yeah. And so, absolutely. Okay, so that's your role. And the Gina Raimondo story is an example of that, and also telling like both sides of that story. Like this could be a head fake type of situation. What do we?
And I'm happy to play that game. I mean, I think the more important game right now, I mean, although personnel obviously is very important, is around what that first legislation is going to be and how fast it's going to get out. So
wait. Let me
the ability through
David, hold on. Let me just get you to answer this side of it, which is like what from the perspective of somebody who's sticking that flashlight in there and exposing some of this, what is helpful for us to do as people who read those pieces? Like, is just reading those pieces helpful in some way because it inspires you to write more of them and deploy your resources there, or what?
Well, yes, I'm not going to say not read them, but I mean, I think that there's a reason that these trial balloons are thrown up is because they want to gauge the response. And if there's a very negative response, then they might move on. And if there's a lukewarm response, they feel empowered to move ahead with somebody that might not be, aligned ideologically. And if there's a positive response, then they're definitely going to do it. So, I think there's a certain type of positive and negative reinforcement that can come out of that circumstance.
How does that response show up on their radar? Like I worked in Congress, and I know that like when we got a handwritten letter, there was some algorithm, this is a long time ago and it wasn't like you get emails, but if you got a handwritten letter as opposed to like, a typed out form letter, it was worth, 150 constituents and the other one's worth like 75 constituents or something like that. Like what is the mechanism for that now?
mean, it's kind of hard to. It's hard to say. It's like you can't call the transition office, right? I mean, it's a difficult thing to really quantify. But there's a general kind of buzz within media circles and within political circles that you can latch onto. So I don't know that there's one way in which you stop a Larry Summers or you stop a Gina Raimondo. But sometimes it happens, and it even happened in 2008, at least with respect to Summers. But it's you just keep throwing sunlight on it and hope that that's successful.
All right, so that first piece of legislation
and reward. Yeah,
the first piece of legislation. There was I saw today. Anand Giordadis was interviewing Chuck Schumer. And Chuck Schumer is on his try and prevent a primary challenge tour for 2022, which it's almost like.
Are you announcing today that 2022 challenge, or are you going to wait a week and just take that time to think about it?
I mean, I've got to check with my family and my ex-wife. I've got to sit down with my ex-wife and not talk about it with her. And so we have to see. I mean, I can't discuss it any further at this point. But
have you had discussions? Have you had discussions with consultants and with media planners?
I can tell you this: I have definitively not had any conversations with my ex-wife about it.
Okay. Very good.
So
take that as a yes.
But one of the things that people do to scare other people out of the race is to show up with a huge amount of money. Like early on, like announce, like I've raised $100 million for my Senate race. And then that scares everybody out of the field. It sort of feels like what Chuck Schumer's doing, and on the left on some level is I've got such an ambitious program from the left that there is no space for me to be criticized on the left. Nobody's going to get to the left of me.
I mean, it's a substantively good thing that Chuck Schumer is in cycle in 2022 in terms of the ambition of that potential initial set of legislation, because this is a real precarious situation right now economically. We have this widening gap between those who are completely insulated from the effects of the coronavirus crisis and those who are absolutely losing ground and have no residual savings or relief from back in the CARES Act, which all of the major components of which expired by the end of July. We're going to need a big number. And the fact that Schumer needs to be careful of his left flank is helpful in what that could be now. And you can do it because it's spending. You can do it pretty much through budget reconciliation, which requires only a 50-vote threshold. So even if Schumer, who's going to have a big choice to make on the filibuster, doesn't go ahead with that, you can still get a very consequential piece of legislation through.
That's good, right? I mean, it's all the spending. I mean, the real question is how much are they going to lard it up? And by lard it up, I mean like how much of like everything is stimulus on
the 09 stimulus.
Say again?
The 09 stimulus had a bunch of tax cuts in it, and it had like an extension of the patch to the alternative minimum tax in it, right? And that was not really a useful piece of stimulus. It was just something that helped upper middle class families. The question that you were hinting at about where do these resistance voters go? Like where do these never Trumpers, suburban voters, what are they just going to walk away from politics now? Are they going to have something substantively that they want out of the Biden administration? Are they going to be part of this conversation? Are they going to be useful as a counteracting to what will be a newly deficit-obsessed Republican Party? I mean, all of these things are, I think, very interesting as to what the trajectory of that early set of not just legislation, but administrative laws, because, you know, we're going to bring back the day one agenda, by the way, which is something we did last year, which is all the things that you can enact without legislation, and try to hold Biden to that. Not that he's agreed to do very many of them, but he has the capacity. And we're gonna go one by one and say, you know, are you working on this? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest fear, though, is that the Republicans who obviously inflated the deficit and say nothing about it when Trump's president, they're going to, you know, go nuts about it if Biden gets elected, and Biden will cave to that kind of framing.
What do you think about that, David? Because I feel like there is, I mean, how much are people going to fall for that deficit BS? I mean, they couldn't, the Republicans couldn't have dropped that quicker. Like, honestly, like,
no, I'm less concerned about people falling for it as much as I am just Biden then behind the scenes taking that kind of conversation seriously for fear that people fall for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, well, okay, I mean that, but part of that calculation is if people aren't falling for it, then it's harder for him to pretend like they are. Right? Like Nancy Pelosi, this is really just she's still thinking of the memory of Pete Peterson. But I don't know that Biden really has the same sort of like, I don't know, energy in that way.
I mean, the thing about it is that if you really need offsets to set up your legislation, the Trump tax cuts give you about $3 trillion worth.
Right.
Just by picking out the stuff around the inheritance tax, the S corporation stuff, corporate tax rate, all of which Biden has said he wants to do. And he's added other things on top of that. So there should be no problem finding the way to quote unquote pay for things if that's what you want to do. Now, I certainly think that a good bit, certainly at least of the stimulus stuff, should be deficit spending. So that's really the question, right? Is if you all of this sort of deficit obsession is really about the rules by which Congress artificially holds itself to in terms of paying for various policies. Right. And so as long as you have those chits, as long as you have that bag of gold that you can put on one side of the scale, it doesn't really matter. And that kind of tends to neutralize the entire debate.
And there's no like Paul Ryan figure, it seems to me, and maybe the media will create one, but there's no Republican step forward and go like, I'm the wonky, reasonable Republican, and here's the sack of a BS that I'm selling, right? I mean, there's nobody who has that. I mean, I'm sure they'll try and develop one quickly, and I don't know who it'll be, Marco Rubio or something like this, but I don't know. It's hard pressed. Nate Cohn from the New York Times calls Trump the clear favorite in Florida. However, the put up from Pinellas County.
What?
Well, this is what Nate Cohn says. Nate Cohn says Trump is the clear favorite in Florida.
And he adds, especially after he opens the clear favorite in Florida, especially after the Miami-Dade early vote. So like early tallies are showing Biden with a lead, but Miami-Dade apparently is going worse for Biden than his campaign anticipated. But
let's look at Pinellas. Pinellas County, and they say that there's, I don't know, 80 to 90% of vote in. Pinellas County in 2016 went 48% to Trump, 47% to Clinton. In 2012, 47% to Romney, 52% to Obama. In 2008, 45% to McCain and 53% to Obama. And right now you're at 53 to 40. I can't quite make that up. It's 45 or 46? 46. So, I mean, Pinellas looks pretty decent. I don't know, though. That last 10% could probably close the gap a little bit. But, but Nate Cohn, that's what he does professionally. It
just narrowed a good amount. The New York Times updated officially 59% reporting And Trump has 50% of the vote, and Biden has 49.1%.
Oh, well, so Nate Cohn. That's why he's working for the New York Times, and I'm sitting here in front of an IKEA panel.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Oh, I think it looks good.
Thanks.
I don't know that Florida is quite. It doesn't have the totemic significance that it always has had in our elections. I think North Carolina is probably a better bet than Florida tonight, and I think Georgia might be as well.
Right. Well, I just want Florida because I just want to be able to say, like, we're done.
I think the most annoying result is usually the one that always happens, and the most annoying result would be for Trump to win Mar-a-Lago and extend this out, and then try to, play his the winner at 8:45 on Tuesday as the winner, kind of thing. So I didn't have Florida in my forecast. I had that going to Trump, but I do think there are opportunities in other states that are going to be consequential.
I think Brendan just tells me now that Pinellas is updated, and it's just he's now got like a 2.7% lead, which is just on the cusp of not being good for Biden. Let's put it that way. So I don't know. I just, I think for me, Florida was just a sort of like this pipe dream so that we could wrap this thing up, because I think I'm already I'm damaging a kidney just sitting here for this long.
It's never easy, and we'll see.
So let me ask you this: do you have? Are there? So in the same way that we look at, let me just make an analogy like this. We're looking at 20 counties across the country that give us an insight as to what's happening with the electorate, right? Do you have an equivalent when you look at, because I know that God bless you, of the various reporters that are out there, that you really key in on this notion of personnel and implications of policy. Are there markers? Do you have the same sort of like indicators as you look at this sort of like, is there a position, in other words, like, oh, if he fills this with that person, that's indicative of this influencing him or that influencing him? Or is it just more like each position is, its own, its own entity and its own battle?
I mean, I think it's about certain positions and their power, relatively speaking. I mean, we know that the Treasury Secretary in general has been someone who really sets economic policy to a large degree within the last several administrations. And so a Treasury Secretary is going to be monumentally consequential. I think Attorney General, especially given what you might need to do in terms of the outgoing administration, is going to be incredibly consequential. I think Labor Secretary is actually going to be pretty important, although that seems to be in the Clinton and Obama administrations, that's where they put the token liberal, is in the Labor Department. So you might see that again. So that might not be indicative of how the overall cabinet looks. But it's kind of like you don't want somebody. You don't want to say, okay, well, if they got a bad person there, then that's okay. I mean, you want a cabinet full of people that are willing to do the job.
David Dayen, I know you probably have some other things to do tonight, I don't know, run your magazine or appear on a different podcast.
To begin later.
But thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank you and congratulate you on your 10th anniversary. That's it's really incredible, and you've earned this great following. I can tell you that every time I'm on here, I hear about it from people. People like I first started to know you from the Majority Report. I love seeing you on the Majority Report, and so I'm glad to be part of this family in whatever way. And here's to 10 more great years.
Appreciate it. People should go and subscribe to the American Prospect. You will be glad that you did. And also check out your email blast. Unsanitized is fantastic. And also, next time, another 10 years, we'll retell the story of how we met, which was on a student film.
Nobody wants to hear that. No,
almost 30 years ago, dude.
I perked up. I kind of want to
almost
hear that.
30 years ago. Well, I'll let Dane go do it. We'll end up talking about it, but appreciate it, David.
All right.
I see you later.
Later.
He and I did a student film together at the University of Michigan in 1992, maybe.
No way.
Yes, and I was brought in. It was I had written something that my buddy based like a short film on, and I played a stand-up, and David was doing sort of comedy a little bit, I think around Detroit or something, and he came up to me at a Netroots like 12 years later and go like, we were in a film together. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Damn, I'm imagining David as like Greg Proops with Better Politics now.
That's not nice.
That is not nice. even if you make it up for the politics, it's still not nice.
Biden's back up a little bit in Florida, we're significant there, 67% votes reported. But again, it's just I don't anticipate Biden to win Florida.
New York Times gives Biden a 66% chance of winning North Carolina. But I remember that damn thing that they had in 2016.
Right.
Where and it's like.
No, they have the needles. They're back. They retired
that.
the overall needle. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not going through that crap again.
Under forecast, election needles. They got Trump at plus 3.1 in Florida. So his odds, according to the New York Times needle, take that with for what you will, keep going up. And now Trump is plus 1.6 in Georgia.
People are asking to flip our video so it looks like we're talking, because when we look at each other this, we're facing the wrong way. Is there no way to fix that? You know, Zoom.
Yeah, no way to fix it. I mean, you can mirror it live or locally, but that's just for your benefit.
Can you guys? I'm looking at Sam now. Does that not look like I'm looking at Sam?
You know what? That's a funny. The weird part is
it might have just switched.
No, in our thing, in the way that it's. I mean,
it looks right to you probably now, like it does to me, but to the broadcast, it's not.
How can we not switch that? That's absurd.
I'm going to get some.
We have very little control over the broadcast, which is really annoying. Which is why we're creating our own version.
All right, so Pinellas is now 49-48 Biden with 95% in, and that is a bad sign in Pinellas County, Florida. So, and you add that to the turnout in Miami-Dade, and I think Florida is now.
Florida's
toast.
gone. Florida's gone.
So we move on. I take out my Florida page. And we look to North Carolina, and it was, if I remember correctly, from Aaron, he was saying that New Hanover County is the bellwether. So we got to look for New Hanover County. That would be the big bellwether. Do we have John from San Antonio checking back in with us or what?
I told him
be on Skype.
7:45.
Oh, it's 7:45. Okay, good. And we'll have a check-in with John. And this gives me a good opportunity to read some IMs and to stand up, which I'm going to do. So forgive me, folks. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. Here we go. I know it's a little bit behind the curtain, but I need to stand up. This
is my opportunity to grab more water.
Yep, that's
good. You want anything?
I'll just do a little bit of this. No, I'm good here. Doctor from New Jersey. Sam, I got the pet CBD tincture from Sunset Lake. My dog has a limb injury and she keeps re-exacerbating. I'm a little nervous to give it to her. Any feedback from the crew? No, I have not. I've not given any CBD, but people, I don't know.
One of my dogs has a hemp treatment for her legs, and she loves it. And
Is it right?
Calms her anxiety as well. Yeah, old dog, like 11 years old.
Oh wow, that's pretty good. K.R. McNamee, long lines in Buck County, Pennsylvania, hoping the conventional wisdom of a higher turnout favoring Dems stays true. Also, welcome Emma.
Thank you.
Tony from Toronto. Are you going to send Emma out as a field reporter? I think maybe when things get a little less COVID-y. I don't know if I want my workers' comp to go that far through the roof. You guys are killing it. Science people don't care about your feelings, says something old, the main crew, something new, Emma, something borrowed, the backdrop from Pac-Man, and something blue. Mo, aren't libertarians for reducing military spending? I don't get why military people would be on that bandwagon. I imagine spending some time in the military for a lot of folks gives them an idea that less should be spent there. Dover DT. Welcome to Emma Sam Cedar Vigland and unwelcome to Shadow Band Ronald Reagan. AP has now called Virginia for Biden. Not a surprise, but better than a poke in the eye. Sebastian just voted in Mississippi. No chance the state flips, but BLM MS has registered a lot of new voters in the past few months. I'm hoping we look at least a shade purple by the end of the day. Jimmy Flies, longtime listener here in New Hanover County, North Carolina. Very tense vibes here. No sense which way it's going to go, but boat parades and truck caravans here. But there are a lot of people sick of this shit as well, so we'll see. Well, that's quite a coincidence. We just mentioned that. Left is beast. I worked for Bernie here in L.A., and on March 3rd, the voter disenfranchisement I personally witnessed was absolutely shocking. In a blue city, in a blue state, I'm pretty sure that even if there's a reform, it's not going to fix all the problems. Well, indeed. I mean, I should tell you that 2 counties, at least in New York State, were under pre-clearance for the Voting Rights Act. I think Queens... Maybe somewhere Queens in the Bronx, maybe? I can't remember. But 2 counties, it surprises people. I mean, New York State, an all-blue state, but incumbents are going to incumb. Did I just make up a verb? Manburger helper, gun shy. Get money out of politics. With the latest Zoom app, the host can rearrange the orientation.
Yeah, that affects it locally, but not for the broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for that. That's ridiculous. Monk Lewis. Sam, talking to Janine was a delight. And Sam, in all seriousness, she's totally right. You're our rock. Skull to you. Not sure what that means, but thank you. Danita, I love you, Emma. Well, we should probably wait till she comes back out. Just make a little note. Danita. Genoplasty. Can't stress how great it is. Well, it's all this like positive Emma stuff. She went to, she stepped out for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, yeah, let's go here. Calling from a 551 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Sam, it's A Squared.
Hey, Squared. So glad to hear from you.
Oh, my God. This is just, the stress is unbelievable. Welcome, Emma.
Emma, A Squared says welcome. I should also tell you that not only did A Squared say welcome, but also Danita on the IM said she or he loves you, and your Standing Rock coverage was A++, says genoplasty.
Oh, I didn't mention that before, but yes, thank you so much for watching that, and thank you guys for the kind words. I'm really excited. So,
hey Sam, I sent a gift over there. Did you guys get it?
Not
yet.
Was it tonight?
Okay. Yes, I sent it earlier today. It should come from the wine store.
I think we did. Yes, but I was rushing in with it, and I thank you so much. That's so great. Appreciate it.
I wanted to send a bottle of Chablis for Mike, in Mike's memory.
Oh,
and
that's
a bottle
funny.
of champagne for you guys.
I used to give Michael grief about drinking Chablis. I don't think he did.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And as always, we thank you so much for doing this. There's no other way to do this. And I am hopeful for a different outcome tonight, because I remember calling you 4 years ago around 1 or 2 in the morning. I don't know what time it was. And it was just the beginning of a very horrible time. But we have to stay hopeful, and I'm looking forward to the next fight that starts tomorrow, which is to wrestle the Democratic Party from all these rethread Republicans. The Lincoln Project. Oh my God.
I mean, we were talking about the Iraq War earlier in the program, and it's just it amazes me the shortness of people's memories. I will just say that.
You're right. It's unbelievable. I saw Michael Chertoff on all the Homeland Security ex-chiefs on MSNBC this week, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! This is going to be a fight. But you know what? I welcome that fight. Rather than fight fascism, let's continue to fight neoliberalism.
Exactly.
I'm going to keep it short and salute and happy anniversary, and thanks for all of the memories and for letting us be part of your family.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, A Squared. Great to hear from you. All right. Bye-bye. All right, let's have John back on. And where is John here? Can you pop him up?
Yep.
Okay. And
good evening, Sam.
John from San Antonio, give us an update, John. What's happening?
Oh, well, I mean, you've gone over some of it. I'm slightly disappointed, not just looking at the presidential race, but also looking at some House races. Now we're at 80% in, with Biden up by 0.3%. We just hit 9,370,000 votes, which is 50,000 less than the vote total from 2016, and there's still 20% more to be counted.
Wow.
One thing that's disappointing when you look at some of the House results, which are also in Florida, which are, you have 86% in the 26th district. Debbie Mercasal Powell, which was the district most likely to flip. She's down by 3.2. This is Carlos Cabello's old district in South Florida, including the Florida Keys. Also, Donna Shalala, 85% of the votes in. She's down by a point.
Oh, she's
which is,
she's supposedly
surprising.
sitting on the oversight committee of the CARES Act. Has she even done anything yet for that?
I haven't seen it. She's down by a point, 3,000 votes. Like I said, 85% of the vote in. Pam Keith down in the 18th by 13 points, 85% of the vote in. That was kind of expected, but the two South Florida House races are, especially the Shalala race is very surprising. And
the Democratic Party in Florida is a disaster.
Yeah, I had high expectations for Florida, but doesn't look so great right now. It's super high turnout. Hard to say, but definitely disappointed. So I mean, because we still got most of the vote. The votes from the mail-up ballot and the early vote were counted first, and so I mean, it seems like Trump. That's why I think that, like in the vote tracker in the forecast, yeah, it's saying that Trump is going to win. You know, because I mean now they're saying 95% chance that Trump's going to win. Yeah, it's disappointing. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I guess the good thing to think is that, like everybody said, they really don't need Florida. I mean, you're absolutely correct saying, you know, if Florida, if they could get Florida early, everybody would be breathing easier. So now, I mean, North Carolina is still less than 1% in, with Georgia with 7% in. It's so early, but essentially, if they, you know, he doesn't really need, you know, Florida or Georgia. If he wins North Carolina, if Biden wins North Carolina, if he wins, you know, Arizona, it's, you know, and then, I mean, I'm still a little bit leery than most people about Pennsylvania. Feel very confident about Wisconsin and Michigan, but I mean, we're seeing some leaning towards Republicans in these House races, you know, which is disappointing, you know.
Well, what's fascinating too is Nate Cohn of the New York Times saying that Trump. I mean, I don't think he's talking specifically about Florida, but he's saying Trump is doing way better in 2016 in Hispanic and Cuban areas and better in Black areas. So, you know, I think the campaign that Biden ran was designed to appeal more to suburban white voters. And I mean, I think that's reflecting in what we're seeing here. And also that kind of backs up what we heard about early voting by Black and Hispanic voters not being what the Biden campaign expected.
Yeah, that's true. I had my worries, you know. I didn't. I mean, I think most progressives didn't like the campaign that he was running. I mean, I think at the conventions, I thought you covered that very well, Sam, or the, you know, mock convention or whatever you want to call it. It's a very similar to Clinton's strategy, more similar to Clinton's strategy than to Obama's strategy. I think COVID was part of that. I don't want to sound too down because, I mean, again, this is, you know, he doesn't really need Florida. He doesn't really need Georgia. But, you know, North Carolina becomes more important. Arizona becomes more important. Yeah. And then, you know, I really don't have, I think as time moved on, all the wish list states seem to be moving towards Trump. You know, Texas, Iowa, Ohio don't have as much confidence in Biden picking up any of those states. I mean, so it's hard to say exactly, but it doesn't look so great right now, just as far as the initial pickups, not just for Trump, but for Democrats in general. But I mean, you're only seeing results from Florida to a large degree. I mean, right. I thought that. So I mean, you know, in an hour we're going to see North Carolina and we're going to see more of Georgia, but we're not.
Initial North Carolina, again, they count the early ballots first, and so there's, you know, a little bit of a blue mirage there. People should be aware of. So,
yeah,
losing North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida would not be ideal.
No.
North Carolina at this point is important to win.
All I can say, John, is that my hopes for an early evening have been dashed, and I am not happy about it. And so I'm not saying I blame you, John, because that would be irrational, but it's possible I might.
Okay. Just looking at some districts like trying to find the 7th district here in Georgia. That's a very important district that hopefully Democrats are going to flip.
We got anything from
Trump just won South Carolina.
So,
Okay.
I would imagine that's good news for Lindsey Graham, although who knows, right? I mean, it wasn't like people anticipated that Trump would lose in South Carolina, but the early call suggests that the gap is pretty big.
And Washington Post says that the Trump campaign's expectations were exceeded in early Florida results.
Yeah.
Bill Stepien told the New York Times that his expectations were exceeded.
Yeah, I'm just trying to tell myself we still got a long way to go. I mean, it looks like Ohio is just coming in at 24% in, with Trump with 1.8% lead. They mix in all their ballots, and so that's not necessarily terrible. Let's see. Okay, actually, let's see. Actually, Biden has a huge lead. So I guess I read that wrong. 24%
in Ohio?
Yeah, in Ohio.
Right, but that's all early voting, so they expect that to go down precipitously.
I think I'm ready to.
Yeah, but they don't start counting their ballots.
I just poured myself a glass of wine.
Right, they don't start counting their ballots, so they just separate them. So I mean, yeah, it probably is early ballots from 7 a.m. when they started counting, but they're not like North Carolina and Florida and Arizona where they started counting, 2 weeks in advance in North Carolina and 3 weeks in Florida, 2 weeks in Arizona. So, I mean, I'm not saying, I still think Trump's going to win Ohio, but I'm just saying, it's just what it is.
Well, John, it feels like it's a little bit early in the evening for an evening that apparently is going to go later than we had all hoped. If it is just an evening at all that we're talking about. So rest up, John, because I have a feeling we're going to need you a little bit later.
All right. I'm going to keep my optimism up. I mean, need North Carolina and Arizona.
All right, exactly. Appreciate the call. We'll check in with you soon.
All right. I always appreciate you, Sam.
Oh, I appreciate you more, John. I mean, it's not a competition. But good news is Laura Loomer lost. So for those of you who are a little bit concerned about Laura Loomer winning, she has lost. So
that's fun. I find it interesting that Trump's campaign sued to keep the polls open longer in Nevada.
Let's see. New York Times has a exit poll of shifts in precincts that they believe nearly all votes have been counted. Here it is. And areas that are majority age 65 and over, Republicans decreased, or I should say Democrats increased by 2.5%. With areas that have white, fewer college grads, Democrats increased by 1. In Obama to Trump areas, Democrats increased by 1. That's not particularly good. I'm not even sure how to read that. What does that mean? In rural areas, Democrats increased by 0.5%. Majority college grads, 0.5%. In high-income areas, virtually no difference. In suburban areas, Republicans increased by 1. In majority black areas, Republicans increased by 3. In urban areas, Republicans increased by 6. Majority Hispanic, Republicans increased by 11%. Cuban neighborhoods, 11%. Is this for what party? What is this? Just in precincts in Florida, or or where, Brendan?
Florida, yeah.
So the big difference is that Trump gained 11 percentage points amongst majority Hispanic areas, 11 percentage points against Cuban neighborhoods, and 6 in urban areas, and 3 amongst majority black areas.
That's actually Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina so far, but we still need a lot of numbers to.
Guys, remember when Mike Bloomberg spent $100 million on Florida to beat Donald Trump? Maybe these right-wing billionaires don't know exactly what they're doing when they pour money into helping Democrats.
Did they end up spending 100? Did he really? Or did he just announce that he did?
In September, he had a $40 million. I know, right? It's hard to know with him. In September, he had a $40 million ad buy. And he at least poured tens of millions of dollars into Florida.
Wow, those are bad numbers.
Okay. AP calls Illinois, New Jersey, Delaware, Massachusetts for Biden.
All right. That's
pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious.
Nice to get some good news that isn't expected.
Yeah.
A little bit disturbing, folks. All right, let's go 856 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? 856. 856. Good day. Sorry. I think there's a lot of shadow calls on there. Calling from a 567 area code.
Hey, Sam, is this me?
I think it is. You calling from a 567 area code?
Yeah, this is very exciting. My buddy and I, this is our first time we're actually getting through.
All right. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Austin and Jesse from Toledo.
Guys from Toledo.
Excited. Toledo, Ohio, sorry. So there's a couple things I wanted to get to. First of all, congratulations on 10 years. Welcome to Emma.
Thank you.
And I think our favorite part of the show is your weirdness about swearing. So I can hear Michael very clearly in my mind saying, effing goddamn it.
Yeah. It's a habit from a radio, and I know that my daughter is listening to, and she used to charge me $1.
Okay, so here's the take I want to get. I don't know if this is big brain, small brain, or just so obvious that no one said it, but about libertarianism with the mask stuff, but in general, I get the sense that because people don't have autonomy in the workplace and they're basically dominated by a dictator all day long, when they get home, they want to have freedom. There's this sense that they submit to this capitalist system so long as they have access to consumer goods and they get total freedom in their house when they get home. And I wonder if that explains this libertarian ideology and what's going on. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's possible. I think, part of it is that there is a I don't know. There's a quality to it that is sort of like a very simplistic logic, and I think it appeals. Matt and I were talking about this, and I think he mentioned it on the show the other day that he has that he's aware of brain development that happens in like late teenage years, that where sort of logic, the brain develops the ability to sort of pursue logic, but hasn't fully formed in terms of nuance. And there is something that here, Matt, here it is. It's the concrete operation stage, logical, that ushers in logical thinking. The formal operations stage from 12 to adulthood introduces abstract thinking. And so you still have these sort of thought operations that do not need to relate to concrete concepts and phenomena. And in between there, it's sort of like you're on the precipice of that, right? And so there's some logic that happens in the context of libertarianism, but it's it's logic that starts at like, it starts a little bit. There are certain assumptions that it makes before the logic kicks in, right?
Yeah, it has nothing. It has no experience to test its logical axioms against either.
Right, and so these things make sense in a very theoretical sense, but in practice they don't actually work. And I think also part of it is that there's the only thing I could tell you, the example I would give is that, you know, when I interviewed Walter Block on multiple occasions, you remember, like, he was talking about, I don't know if you heard it, but when he was talking about how the development of property rights happened, right? Because property rights in the libertarian brain are a priori, but they're not a priori, right? Like they're only like they're created by society because somebody like has to say, like, this is, you know, this is the context. And so I'm like, well, if property rights are, you know, a priori, how come any white people have any property rights in this country? Right. Like, where, you know, like what, why don't indigenous people in this country own everything? And he's like, well, we start calculating from when essentially like white people came over because we use a French concept. And it's like, well, wait a second. You keep talking about how your principles are uber alles, but you just decide to apply your principles like when, you know, to this race, when you're comfortably in the lead. You know, it's like saying like everybody's going to wear the exact same shoes. They're going to have glass in the bottom, so you can't run very quick, and everybody's equal. But wait a second, you're already 4 miles ahead. How is this equal? Well, you're getting into now you're just talking wokeness. I'm saying everybody's equal. You know, that is the thing. But I think, you know, there could be some response to, you know, from what you're saying. But I also think it has to do with finding something that basically protects people's power and sounds like it's based upon something other than that.
Well, I understand why, like, the wealthier middle class people, upper middle class people think that. There's a lot of, I get the sense in Ohio, there's a lot of, and I don't even know if downwardly mobile is the right phrase, but just poorer people that are anti-mask, and those are the people that I think are gettable, but I don't understand.
Well, yeah, anti-mask, I think, is a slightly different thing. I think it's just an idea of like, I'm going to maintain control over something when a lot of other stuff is going sideways. And I think that's a big part of it. I appreciate the call. Got to jump.
Yep. Yeah.
Bye. I can't even hang up on oh, there we go. All right.
So McConnell officially won.
Hold on for a second. I don't know if we're going to have Sarah right now, but we're going to have another special guest, ladies and gentlemen. One second. I am sending her the phone number. This is going to be a big treat for longtime listeners of the show. 10-year anniversary of the program. And she has been yes, right now. She has been, she's going to be officially working on the program, but she has served an important function on the show. She has provided the intro for the free show for years. Of course, I'd like to welcome to the program, Mila Seder. Hello, Mila.
Hey, Dad.
How are you?
Hey.
You want to say hi to Emma?
I'm freaking out right now.
Wait.
I'm like really scared.
All right, hold on, dude.
And then
Just
I'm in this like group text.
Hello, Mila?
Oh, my friend Sam.
Mila.
My friend. Yes.
Okay. Say hi to Emma.
Nice to meet you. I've
Hi,
already
Emma.
heard so much about you, so many good things.
Oh, I'm flattered.
Yeah.
I'm delayed, so I'm gonna go listen. You're delayed. Okay. Wait,
you're freaking out? Don't freak out.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little scary. I'm like, Florida's super close right now, but we're probably not going to be able to tell for a while. And then
I got to break it to you. Trump's going to win Florida, but that doesn't mean it's over.
You think he is?
Yes.
I don't know. I hope. I hope he doesn't. So sorry. I hope he doesn't win.
Right.
That's what I was saying. But Dad, my friend is like watching your show right now.
Well, that's good. Are you not watching my show right now?
Well, see, I'm sitting with Aunt Julie, and she actually went in the other room, and I was like, well, my phone's about to die, so I don't really think I can watch your show.
All right, you don't have to make excuses. That's fine. You see plenty of me at home, so you don't have to sit here and watch it. But
I just wanted to call in
because
I'm sure everyone's freaking out right now. But no matter what happens, New Zealand's always an option. So
it's actually not really an option for you or I. But I do. But I think the sentiment is a good one, Mila, and I think people are pretty psyched to have heard from you. Of course, you've been doing.
Yeah, I know. I would be psyched to hear from you too. I'm kidding.
I love that confidence. I didn't have that at 15. I did not have that.
I don't.
She doesn't.
It's okay. You don't even need to say it. Most of confidence is just acting like you're confident.
Exactly.
I do it all the time.
Make it.
Yeah.
Also, happy 10-year anniversary of your show, Father.
Can't
believe that it's already been 10 years, and it's a little freaky.
It is a little bit freaky.
Time goes by that fast.
It's true. It's true. I appreciate you taking such a mature and retrospective perspective.
Aunt Julie told me to do it, and not.
Oh, all right. Well, listen, sweetie, thank you for the call. I appreciate the support. Don't worry. Hang in there.
I'll try. I'm really trying not to worry.
I know. It one way or another, things will work out.
Well, that's if we move to New Zealand. But I love you.
I love you too. All right. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Bye.
Do we have Jamie on Zoom? Is she here?
I can get her to join right now.
Okay. We may get a call from Sarah. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes.
Nate Cohn says early results in... wait, hold on. I will say that the early results in that must be a typo, Ohio or Texas look reasonable enough for Biden, while they certainly weren't in Florida.
Well,
speculation.
I know.
Speculation. I love it, even though I hate it.
Yeah, this is. I was much more inclined to just have Florida. Let's do Florida.
Yeah, you were really banking on.
I was hoping that. Yeah. I wouldn't want to cut the anniversary show short, but I'd be willing to do that. I mean, it's not. There's nothing.
It's a selfless act, Sam.
There's nothing sacrosanct about a anniversary show. I mean, come on. Let's check in with Jamie or Kyle. We should also check in with Kyle.
Yeah, I just want to say if you move the show to New Zealand, that's going to be a networking challenge on the tech front. There's a lot of network hops between here and New Zealand. So,
can I just take this opportunity, Kyle, since we have you on the phone, to thank you again. This show would not be possible without Kyle Shank. He has, every bit of technological infrastructure on this program is a function of Kyle, from the phones to the graphics to the back end membership to everything technical associated with the show, down to certain computers, operating systems. So Kyle, I cannot thank you enough. Ever since the day you came into my life with ad nags, it has been better. Oh, well, Kyle, we'll have to pick this up in a second.
Sure.
Hello?
Yo.
Sarah.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes. You're on the air, Sarah Silverman. Thank you for calling.
I am?
Yes.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
You notice we could have used the Great Schlep 2, apparently.
Oy, oy, oy. So what's the latest? I've been trying not to watch, but it's not good. Does Trump have Florida?
It certainly appears that way.
And Georgia too. Hey Sarah, my name's Emma.
Fuck.
Big fan. Seen you live twice.
Wow.
Holy shit.
I know.
Was she funny?
Oh, you were great. I saw you in Montclair, New Jersey, and like 7 years ago. And
at the Wellmont Theater?
Yes.
Ah.
And in Huntington, like 4 years ago, and you heckled this lady who was drunk texting in the front row and showed up late. Do you remember that?
I mean, I don't remember specifically, but I hate when people in the front row are assholes because, like, they're always the ones that come late because they're rich and they get the expensive front row tickets.
Exactly.
But then they have no, like, pressure to be there on time because money is just fluid for them. And I just hate them when they're like that.
She did it twice. You yelled at her, and then she had the audacity to text in front of you in the front row like 30 minutes later.
Yeah, because they're people that aren't used to being called out or told no. Usually when people don't show up like on time and they come late, I just give their seats away.
Good call.
I have people from the back come up, but then they always make a stink because, they deserve more, I guess.
I don't know.
And better.
True leftist politics. Give their seats away.
Yeah.
So, Sarah,
what's the latest? I just got home. I've been desperately trying to not look. I was hoping to watch The Bachelorette tonight and just be kind of keeping track on my phone, but they're not showing The Bachelorette because of the election. I need them to show The Bachelorette because of the election.
Can't you just watch a repeat of it, or no? Have you seen all of them?
That's not how it works, because there's a very consequential episode,
so naive.
Sam.
What?
Because she's about to leave and get replaced by another bachelorette. It's a big, big deal.
Yeah, Claire is about to throw it all away for Dale, who she believes she's in love with. This guy is completely vapid. And what she doesn't know, not that, but it says under his bio, when it says his name, it says ex-football player. But I looked up what he currently does, and he's a costume model for Party City.
Well, I mean,
he is so good looking, though. It's difficult to focus. Anyway,
wait a second. So this is an ongoing this is.
I watch the show and I don't feel shame about it.
It sort of seems like you're a little bit like you're blushing a little bit.
It's survival.
About knowing, look, it's one thing to watch Survivor with a religious zeal like I do, but how are they shooting The Bachelorette now? Isn't everything shut down, or is it all via Zoom?
They're quarantined. No, they're all quarantined. They all quarantined and got tested, and then they just live within one house.
Ah.
They're staying at a La Quinta.
Yeah, they're staying at a sprawling La Quinta. It's like the NBA, but better.
So, well, I mean, putting aside Bachelorette, because I really don't, I have not kept up on it, I have to say. But Sarah, what?
Yeah.
You're doing a podcast now, correct? What?
I am.
How? I mean, I don't know. We haven't really contemplated the idea that that Donald Trump could win. I mean, have you even contemplated that?
You haven't?
I haven't. Have you?
Yes.
What does that look like? No, it's not that I don't think it's possible that he could win. I just haven't spent time thinking about it.
Slow, casual end to our democracy.
No.
I don't think he leaves in 4 years.
Oh, I think he's probably dead by then, don't you think? I mean, it's really a question of what happens with Pence.
He's barely human. Who even knows what's in that body?
Do you think
He's gonna live forever. Nothing kills that guy. The coronavirus got sick from him.
He's just like black bile in McDonald's. Like, I don't really know what's sloshing around in there.
Yeah, there's no organic matter inside the walls of that slithering reptilian skin.
Well, no, but honestly, I mean, have you gone any further? Like, because I don't think he'll stay in office. I don't think there'll be another term, but I do think that they'll be like, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I can't even.
They're gonna overturn Roe v. Wade. They're gonna overturn marriage equality.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be an alarmist, but there will be healthcare will be completely privatized. You know, I mean, ACA will be dead. You know, it's going to be scorched earth. It's going to be, if Biden wins, it'll be the next 3 months is going to be scorched earth.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. All I keep clinging to is look for the helpers, you know, like Mr. Rogers says. But, you know, I don't know. I haven't let myself play these things out too much.
Well, that's what I just said, and you jumped all over me for it.
No, you said you haven't considered a Trump presidency. I haven't considered either. I just, you know, I pray to the God I don't believe in that, you know, I'll be complaining about a Biden presidency a year from now. You know, like I should be so lucky. We all should, but I don't know that that's the case. I mean, this is a person and an administration surviving, drowning, and doing anything they can to win. They believe that cheating, not counting votes, discounting votes, all of that is to serve a higher cause, which is winning, which is what God wants them to do, or however they justify it, but they justify it.
Yeah, it's pretty heinous.
Yeah, I mean, look at Iran in the 70s. The women in bikinis. It was like a hippie generation. You know, cultures change. Democracies change. They don't live forever. You know, I'm not being cavalier about it. It's really, really, really scary. But we've had a democracy. We've had maybe the longest running democracy, I think, right? It's been a good run, but the chances we didn't protect it. So I don't know what's going to happen, you know, but I mean, if Biden wins, he still can win, right? I'm trying not to.
Yeah, he is. Although
Pennsylvania's looking good, right?
North Carolina is now favored by 0.4 in the New York Times forecast for Trump, which is
North Carolina is favored
by 0.4. They're saying it's basically that's
not good.
Really bad news.
The thing is, you know, Democrats voted by mail exponentially more than Republicans. We know this. So we knew that it was going to maybe look this way and that he would declare victory tonight and that we need to really push.
Yeah, but North Carolina is not. North Carolina is not that situation. North Carolina was able to count their ballots. And so, if anything, it would be the opposite in North Carolina. The early tallies would be favorable. I think North Carolina was one of the places where you would see
I expected Biden to win North Carolina. But the problem is, and what we're seeing right now is that Biden is not turning out black voters in the way that Obama did. He's performing well with white suburbanites, which is what he tailored his campaign to do, but that's not enough in some of these states right here on the East Coast that the Democrats were hoping to win. So.
Well,
I've been really trying to disassociate, but
I apologize. Why don't you just wish me happy 10-year anniversary, Sarah?
Of this show?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Happy to. I don't know. It could be like of your sobriety, although that can't be true.
No, that's not true. Particularly
happy
not tonight.
10-year anniversary.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I don't know if you remember back.
That's really something.
We did some bit with Henry Kissinger a long time ago on this show. I can't remember
The
what
real
it was.
Henry Kissinger?
I can't remember. I cannot remember.
Rings a bell.
Sort of does, doesn't it? But I can't remember if it was actually like, I can't remember what it was. We should look into that. Well, look, we're going to start to, what is that? What is you're just sending me now, Brendan? It's 63 to 74%. What was that? Brendan, what was that you just sent?
That's North Carolina.
North Carolina. Biden's up by...
I'm looking at the Times election needle projections, basically.
I see. So right now we're seeing the blue mirage as it is in North Carolina, which is that Biden's up by 10 percentage points with about,
That's huge.
yeah, but with about 70 to 75% in. And the problem is that presumably that is early voting that we're seeing is dominating those figures, and as it goes a little bit later, it may fade, but I don't know. We will see.
Well, I don't think we should just assume that. I know I just said that a lot of liberals are, voted early, but and voted by mail. But I think there are also a lot of people that want to make sure their vote counts and wants to really do it on the day. And so there's that too. I don't know. See, I don't want to be like bargaining like last time, just spending the night bargaining. I can't take it. I feel I've done everything I could, including vote. And now it's out of my hands and I have to just be healthy.
Yeah.
What a creepy laugh.
All right. Well, Sarah, look, we're gonna jump, but hang in there.
I'm busy too.
I know you're super busy right now. We gotta let you go.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you later. Sarah Silverman, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Sorry, let's bring Jamie back on. And Texas, Biden up 7%, but only about 60% in.
Yeah, Chris Hooks, CD Hooks, a Texas guy on Twitter, said it's not looking terribly great for Dems early on there. I don't know about the Biden race specifically, but generally not what you'd want to see there. So,
all right, hold on. I'm sorry. So Jamie,
hey, Jamie,
how are you hanging in?
Hey, I'm all right. It's been a busy day for me as Antifa's official liaison to the Democratic Party. Had a lot of old people to intimidate, a lot of ballot boxes to stuff, but I'm doing all right.
Doesn't sound like you've been doing a bang up job, at least in Florida. I thought you were. Where was the Antifa brigade down there?
I think Soros's checks. Something's been happening to them lately, so we're a little under resourced. But I promise we're doing our best.
I don't know what I don't know what everybody's sort of on pins and needles now. I sort of feel like waiting for this.
Do we still think it's possible if that Biden gets to 300 electoral votes?
I mean, it seems unlikely to me.
Right? I want to see him win. I mean,
no, I know. Maybe I was being too, but if he loses North Carolina, that path is pretty much gone.
Yeah. It seems pretty. I mean, what's amazing is the traps that we were told specifically were going to be avoided this time around in terms of the polling. We're starting to see the vague outlines of at least a similar miscounting. In this instance, it may be a. Again, it's sort of difficult to say, but at least in the context of Florida, it is Biden's strategy of appealing to white people does not seem to be terribly effective.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, the more reports come in, New York Times Needle has 63% chance that Trump wins North Carolina. So.
Oh, jeez. So it's really going to be down to Pennsylvania again. And I guess the idea is like, how much appeal to white people do you have? And will, Philadelphia, let's say, underperform?
I think he has a lot of appeal to white people, for better or for worse. I mean, Brandon Sutton talked about how he was a diversity hire for Obama's team, right? Like, just trying to convince all the racists that Obama needed to win. Like, all right, it's all right. He's cool. He's with me. And
well, that's a rear guard thing, right? Like he's just trying to stabilize and not get too much white flight. But that's different than overcoming Donald Trump's racist appeal, right? I mean, if you're going to have a rear guard guy who's going to say we're not going to have too much bleeding because we're not going to be too scary to white people, but we shall see. I mean, maybe that helps in Wisconsin. I don't know. It depends again. Like, do we see an underperformance in Milwaukee? And it's getting a little bit nerve-wracking, folks. It's getting a little bit nerve-wracking. I'll tell you what. Let's bring it. Do we have David Feldman? We'll bring him in too. Maybe you can cheer us up a little bit.
We having a little party line here.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, let's do it.
Can we also bring on the MRHQ thing? Because with 4 people live, get a pro.
I'm going to run and I'll be back. So I can duck out for this. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mr. Feldman, what is going on?
Hey, life is great, man. Really happy to be on the show. I'm very optimistic. What?
Hey, dude, like,
I moved in with my mother. I'm back in my old.
And she's not. That's how like Jamie has always described her apartment as looking like that to a certain extent. But
oh no, this isn't an apartment. This is the basement. I live in my mother's basement now.
I see you have your own bathroom though. That's pretty good.
Well, I share it with my mother, and. You think what's so funny? Don't you think it's a beautiful thing?
No, I just haven't seen you so coiffed.
I'm a 62-year-old man living with the love of his life.
Well, that's really that is very sweet. Hey, is that a Majority Report sweatshirt?
Oh yes. I wanted to thank you.
Wait a second.
Well, it's your 10-year anniversary.
Oh, okay.
And am I allowed to do some product placement? Am I allowed to show this?
I don't even think I've even seen that.
Have you seen this stuff? Yeah. I'm out of it. Can you send me more?
Are you eating that?
I'm putting it on toast.
Salve? Yeah. There is Dave the Sunset Lakes.
It is. Eating it? I've been eating it all afternoon. I've never felt better. I'm getting a bit, just a touch of a Hillary Clinton flashback from 2016.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
What?
No.
Sometimes, and I wanted to talk to you about the CBD oil because I feel great and I'm really optimistic about Florida. Oh, Bill. I just think we're going to win big because nobody would ever elect this madman. Oh, Bill. So this is anyway.
Oh, no.
I feel so good ever since I tried Sunset Lake CBD oil on my toast.
Oh my God.
Oh, we're going to win big.
God. I didn't want to know how you did that. I just want to know how we can set our Zoom settings so that can't happen again.
What are you talking about? I feel great, Sam.
You know who you look like? You look like Ken Starr.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have a bone to pick with him. I mean, talk about a right-wing conspiracy.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what it is, Sam. Sometimes I love the CBD oil, but sometimes I get these flashbacks to 2016.
Oh my God.
Oh, I feel better now. I feel great about the election. I have never been. I told you, I'm a Bernie bro from way back. You know that, right?
Yeah, no, I do know that about you.
But you know that I said we got to thread a needle here, and the only way to do that is Kamala Harris. That people love her. She did great in the primaries. It was obvious that America wanted her to be our next president. And that's why they stayed home. That's why nobody turned out to vote for her.
because they said obviously wanted her to be president. Yeah.
And nobody voted for Joe because it was so obvious that we all wanted him. Not we, I'm a Bernie bro from way back. Hang on for 1 second. Ma, I'm on with Sam Seder. Okay, I'll be up in a second. Sorry.
No, I understand.
I live with my mother now.
No.
I feel great. We're going to win Florida. I feel it. I just know it. I just know we're going to win Florida.
Oh, my God.
But you know what I think we should do? Are you on pins and needles? I'm on pins and needles.
Yeah. No. I'm on pins and needles.
Not because of the election. My cat ate my hemorrhoid donut last night, the whole thing. And I have been on pins and needles all day. And the election, I have never been more confident about our democracy. I've never been prouder to be an American. Sam, Jamie, did you see those people in Georgia lining up for 8 hours to cast their ballot?
Uniquely American.
I mean, my eyes water. Inspiring. My eyes water when I see that. The perseverance of the American people. It reminds me of this 80-year-old woman who lives down the hall from us, who works 3 jobs.
Yes, uniquely American.
Uniquely American. My eyes tear up. I am so proud of this country.
It is like the idea that Donald Trump, who has, as far as I can tell, I don't know. It is a scary prospect to me that Donald Trump could actually win with more votes than he did last time. And
no way. No chance. There isn't. You remember I came on the show 4 years ago and I told you there was no way Donald Trump was going to win this thing. I was off by 4 years, but there's absolutely no way he's going to win. I promise you, when we wake up tomorrow, Joe Biden is going to be our president. By the way, if ICE is watching, because I just want to name some names, if you don't mind. Andy Kindler lives at 1414 Mockingbird Lane. He's a loudmouth Jew, a big Hillary supporter, and I just want to name some names if you don't mind. Eddie Pepitone, 1313 Bonnie Meadow Lane in the San Fernando Valley. You might want to pick him up right now while you still have a chance. I'm going to name names. I have every intention.
You're already throwing people under the bus as part of the what is it? The counter-revolutionary squad or what?
I'm hedging my bets because Trump isn't going to go gently into the night. I pulled some strings for us, Sam. I got us a kosher gulag, non-smoking. I have a cousin who works for ICE, a little temporary re-education camp. I'd asked Jamie to come with us, but you don't want to be in our gulag.
No.
No, I think they have a separate one for communists.
Let me hang on. ICE, if you're watching, Jamie Peck, 1314 3rd Street, Brooklyn, New York. Just covering my bay. I want to name names just in case.
That was actually, now we should also say none of these addresses are real.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, David. This is supposed to be a lot more fun at this point.
Well, He's going to win Florida.
Trump is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we knew that.
I mean, I guess maybe I had my hopes up, but I'm a little bit worried about North Carolina now, which is not something that I thought was the same, right? I mean, I don't know how Cal Cunningham is doing, but I mean, supposedly he was up by 9 points. There seems to be there seems to be increasing evidence again that these polls missed something substantial that was happening in terms of the way they were modeling, and hopefully it doesn't turn out that that Trump wins, but it's certainly Cunningham is up 5 points, I guess, in North Carolina, with 71 to 83% in. But again, that is, first of all, that's underperforming where some of the polls were. Maybe they were a little bit higher than 5 points. But also, presumably, that is with the blue mirage. And so the next 25 points or so, 25% of the vote coming in could be heavily weighted towards Republicans. A little nerve-wracking.
Well, for Tillis, you think he's going to get reelected?
No, I don't know. I have no idea. Right. But I'm getting a little bit suspect of the polling models that we've seen up to this point.
Well, have you been called by a pollster? I've never been. Speaking of, we're talking about Cunningham, so it's good to talk about pollsters because he almost lost the election because of that pun. But somebody kill me for that joke. Have you been called by a pollster?
I haven't, but I mean, so what? I'm the most predictable voter there is.
Well, there's the Bradley effect. You've talked about this on the show, where people didn't want to admit that they weren't voting for Bradley, the mayor of Los Angeles, when he was running for governor, because they didn't want to admit he had a problem with African Americans. I can't imagine getting a call and saying, why, yes, as a matter of fact, I do hate blacks, Mexicans, and Arabs. Put me down for Trump.
Well, I
mean,
who
would admit that?
Yeah, but I mean, what we're seeing in Florida is actually that the Hispanic community.
Well, the Cubans.
And no, not just the Cubans. Not just the Cubans. The Hispanic community and the black community outperformed for Trump.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Really.
Wow.
You better clean up that fucking room.
But you sound like my mother. Well, you know what I think the Democrats should do right now?
What?
Biden should concede right now. Prove that he's the bigger man. Right, Jamie?
Give up.
We're above. We should prove that the Democrats are above the petty partisan bickering. Reach across the aisle right now. That's what Biden's great at. And give it to Trump. Obviously, Trump wants it more than Biden does. Let him have it. Walk away. That's how you win.
That's right. You show that you're the bigger person and let winning happen.
Give him the presidency for another 4 years. And we will look so good, our side, the Democrats will look so good after that we will lose by much smaller margins in 2024.
Well, the good news is there's a lot more voter participation this year, it seems like.
Yes. And I think too much, quite frankly. I think it's inefficient. You know, we have the greatest technology in the world. Why does it take more than 100 million people to cast their ballots in order to find out who we want to be president? We have AI. We have Amazon. We need something like automated self-driving ballots.
Some type of algorithm like Netflix uses in terms of like knowing what we want to choose.
Right. If you like Biden, you'll also vote yes on Proposition 22. You give Amazon or Netflix your credit card and you let them vote for you. You shouldn't need 160 million people
It's horribly inefficient. We could save a lot of money on elections.
Well, how come the pollsters, I mean, you're crapping on the pollsters, but, they usually get it right. Why don't we just poll Americans? And if there's a candidate who is leading beyond the margin of error, we give him the presidency. And if it's within the margin of error, we let the Supreme Court decide.
I mean, that's one way of possibly doing it. It would be more efficient, without a doubt.
This is not working, obviously.
So far, I'm not terribly thrilled about it. But all right, well, look, David, this is not. We want to go and start to maybe start to follow some of the numbers and figure out where this is going a little bit. Emma's giving me a face like not good.
Are the numbers that bad? I mean, he's gonna win Texas, Bill.
Honestly,
Bill, we're gonna win Texas.
Oh my God.
We're gonna win We're gonna win the popular vote, Bill, and we're gonna win Florida. I know it. And you know what? I just spoke to Pluff and Barack, and they're gonna make Puerto Rico a state. That's the November surprise. They're going to make Puerto Rico a state, and we're going to win, Bill.
Now let's check in on what's happening with the Cunningham Tillis race. David, let's talk in the camps, shall we? I mean,
yes.
We near the latrine?
Yes, and congratulations on your
morning. The first night that there's a full moon.
In all honesty, this is my prediction. I think when we wake up tomorrow, we will have Biden will. I think Texas is looking good. I think we have a chance in Texas. I think we have it. Not we. Nobody voted for it, but I think we can. I think Texas and Wisconsin, Michigan. Bye.
David, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
All right. David Feldman, ladies and gentlemen. Yeesh.
Okay. Well, Florida officially called for Trump. That's not a shocker.
Florida has been called for Trump. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I would have been surprised that it would. That
it's pretty early.
That at 9 p.m., but before 9 p.m., we're going to be able to call it for anybody. Mm-hmm. Never mind call it for Trump. That is inconsistent with the idea that this is going to be a Biden blowout.
Right.
And there were two scenarios, right? Scenario one was Biden blowout. The other scenario is that Trump may eke it out. It does not appear to be a Biden blowout. I don't know. Maybe it's too early to say that.
I mean, one of North Carolina and Ohio are like must wins probably at this point.
Where are we with Ohio at this point? I mean, excuse me, with North Carolina.
It seems like the again, New York Times 70% reporting 76% chance that Trump wins. People are saying that the New York Times is forecast is the outlier, but I don't know. Trump's up plus 1.3 with 70% reporting. Democrats are apparently encouraged by Pennsylvania. So we'll see. We'll take a look at that. 10% reporting. Biden's up 64.9%. I will see which counties are.
Well, the big question is what's happening in New Hanover, North Carolina. That is the big watershed, according to Aaron Kleinman.
Right.
I'm going to pull that up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ooh, I don't like the idea that you just said that as opposed to I can't see what that says. Is there any way to zoom in on it? Oh, there we go.
Oh, it's so close.
52 to Well, that's encouraging, right? I mean, if
yeah, I'm seeing mixed things. I'm seeing some people, including somebody retweeted by Aaron, saying that North Carolina's not looking so horrible. So,
yeah, I'm very bullish on the needle. I really don't think it's like
okay. All
you're
right.
bearish on the needle.
Bullish against my usage. I find the New York Times is like interface way more intuitive than these other sites. So
I agree with that.
That's kind of why I'm relying on it, not for any particular.
All right.
Also, because
no, I'm not mad at anyone. I'm not mad at anyone right now. I'm just like I can't like let the needle own me again.
All right, let's go to Union County in North Carolina. Let's look at some of these things and see where we're at here. Can you pick that up, Brendan?
Which county? I'm sorry.
Union County in North Carolina.
What's that near?
That's it's near Charlotte.
Okay.
Republicans win this generally between 63 and 65%. That's the way it's gone from 2008 to 2012, 2016, with Democrats getting in the mid to low 30s.
And there's been an increase in unaffiliated voters, I think that was Union County. Yeah.
So let's see where that is to give us a sense of just how we're tracking.
And also Wake County is important just because both Union and Wake are suburban strongholds. So these are the exact voters that Biden was targeting, you know?
Well, the good news in Union
Nothing.
County, no one has voted, apparently. So that is, what do we got for, and I'll tell you what's problematic about that, right, is that we know that's going to be a Republican county. So, and no votes are counted there. Of the 25% extant votes, he's going to win 63% of the ones that come from Union as a minimum.
Right.
So let's look at Wake County, North Carolina. This is
it's the Raleigh suburb, right?
I think so. It's and that's 65 to 33%.
That's
and
good.
That's overperforming Clinton, certainly. And that's overperforming from 2016 significantly, it seems like. I don't know how many votes were in there, but Clinton won that by 100,000, more than 100,000 votes last time. And Biden seems to be up to like 190,000 votes. So that's encouraging. Let's go to Robeson County, which was one of the big Obama to Trump counties.
I gotta find it first.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Okay.
Brendan Kornacki.
I was actually I won the geography bee in elementary school, so I'm pretty good at this.
Robeson. Oh, what do we got there? That's, let's see. This is Robeson County. That is not good. That is not good. In 2012, Obama won 58 to 41%. In 2016, Trump won 51 to 47%. And that's not good, what we're seeing in Robeson. It sort of feels like the Trump area has got even more Trumpy.
Mm.
And that the Biden, the sort of, Clinton areas got marginally more Democratic, but the Republican ones got significantly more Republican. And that could be just, that was Donald Trump's strategy, right? Go for this, not expand his electorate, to sort of deepen it.
Yeah. 538 in Texas, Biden now leads by about 3 percentage points according to ABC News, but I'm skeptical that he'll hold on to that. Only 62% the expected vote has come in, and it seems like most of the big metropolitan areas have disproportionately reported their votes, while huge tracts of more Republican and more rural parts of Texas haven't reported. They're also waiting on El Paso County out west, which is in a different time zone. And it looks like Biden improved on Clinton's percentages, but it doesn't look optimistic for Texas.
It appears that the polls were about 4 points more in favor of Biden than reality appears to be. And in which case, that would put places like Pennsylvania very, very, very tight.
Cool.
And that is, that's the scenario, right? Where this stuff, if Pennsylvania is very, very tight, it ends up in court, and boom, Pennsylvania is the Florida of 2020.
I'm starting to think a lot of Trump people don't want to tell you who they're going to vote for. It seems that way right now.
I mean, that could be it, or it could be that the modeling that the pollsters do in terms of presuming who is going to come out and vote, and that there are just basic assumptions that they make when they look at who they're going to poll. And, they're polling, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people, whatever it is. And then they're weighting it. They're saying, well, these people are representative of only of this size of a slice of our pool, if you will. And that's where the problem is. It's not, I think, that there are people who are lying to pollsters, although that's possible. What I think is more likely is that the pollsters' assumptions of who the electorate is going to be is wrong. I mean, that's what happened in 2016, and it appears to have happened again, despite the fact that they, changed their calculations. Because I think what we're going to end up seeing is that the amount of people that they thought were going to vote for Biden is probably close to there. It's just that they just presumed, not that people were not telling them on the Trump side, but there was just more of them than they presumed. That like certain groups were outperforming than they had assumed. And those assumptions are sort of baked into these polls.
Or maybe fewer of the Democratic voters than they assumed, considering what we've been hearing about Black and Latino turnout.
Right. Well, maybe they're overassuming Black and Latino voters for the Democrats, which, like, again, this arrogance about Trump's outreach to Black men specifically was very frustrating to me, because I don't think that the margin is comfortable enough for Democrats to be that arrogant about it. So with Decision Desk says, I don't know, Biden's still up in North Carolina with 73%, 73.8 to 86.5% in. He's up by a little under 200,000 votes, but I don't.
I think we will have producer
Everyone take a
emeritus
sip of your wine.
Producer emeritus of the Majority Report, I think, is about to call in. Bear with us, folks. Bloobs. By the way, the colors between Sam and Emma's cameras are so different, color grade, that ... Yes. Well, we wanted to make it seem like the color grades were different for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it was on purpose.
It's a stylistic choice. Brendan, how is he calling in? Oh, he may have gotten his food. He's getting his food.
He should be. He has a Zoom call.
Here he is now.
Okay. Like to welcome back to the program, producer emeritus, Professor emeritus of the Majority Report, Josh Orton. Josh. Executive emeritus. Executive producer emeritus. Yeah, there you go. Dude, what the hey?
Yeah, I'm not as nervous as you guys are. I didn't think we were going to take Florida. I think North Carolina is still looking fine. I think Wisconsin and Michigan are going to be fine. I mean, I don't know about the Senate race in Georgia. I'm a little more.
What do you think about Pennsylvania?
I don't know anything about Pennsylvania yet. I mean, I don't think we know anything about. I mean, I don't know. I think anecdotally we've heard some things, but I don't have, at least for me, I don't have enough information to think about Pennsylvania going one way or the other yet. I'm a little concerned about my optimism about my bullishness about Georgia is fading a little bit, but not gone.
Why are you? Unless Sam, you had a question. I'm curious why you're more confident about North Carolina than we are.
It just seems like the margin right now is still okay. I mean, right now I'm looking at Decision Desk. It's like estimated between 79 and 92% in. Biden's still got a 150,000 vote margin. We've got a bunch of these rural counties that are not in yet, like Hyde and Ash, and but I think that we'll see if those can add up, but I'm still fairly bullish on North Carolina.
Really?
Yep.
Well, all right. I'll take that, Josh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous. It appears like the polling has been a little bit off, right? I mean, that it has overestimated, maybe not necessarily overestimated Biden support, but underestimated the number of people who seem to Trump seems to be generating more new voters.
Some places. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case in the upper Midwest. And I think that, look, I kind of look
Josh is in Wisconsin.
I'm in Wisconsin. Look, I've been hearing that there's not a single Republican that thinks that Trump is going to win Wisconsin, right? And if you look at the big picture, we always thought that the path for Biden was likely going to be through the upper Midwest again. And look, I was getting excited about Florida because it meant an early night, and that would be great, right? Because we wouldn't have to worry about all this other stuff. But I never really thought that we were going to get Florida. I mean, it would be great, but I was never like super bullish on Florida. And I still think that the path is through the upper Midwest. I still think, I still think we've got a shot in maybe Texas. I think I'm pretty bullish on Arizona. I'm still feeling okay about North Carolina.
All right. Well, then,
I hope I didn't.
No, I
burn the.
I am happy to hear some.
Very well.
All right. Well, good. Then, Josh, let's talk about after Biden wins. What do we do then?
I should say that, did anybody come in thinking that there was going to be a huge Biden landslide today?
I mean, not me personally, but didn't it seem like there was two scenarios? I mean,
kind of
like people were talking about Dukakis. Like
a lot of people were. I thought Biden would get just a few over 300 electoral votes, but like nothing.
I mean, I think that this was always. Look, I think that his campaign had a strategy, right? His campaign had a clear strategy of, and they stuck to it, of a return to normalcy. And I think that, what you sacrifice a little bit there is enthusiasm, right? And so a lot of the extra enthusiasm was sort of anti-Trump. And I think that, and so I never really expected this huge look. There's no surprise, I'm a Bernie guy, right? I actually think that Bernie would have beat Trump in a landslide. I still do. But I still think Biden's going to win.
All right. Well, let's talk about what we do after Biden wins then.
All right.
What do we do, Josh?
I mean, look, I think that there's a lot. I mean, where do you start? I mean, I'm optimistic too about the stuff that you saw from Schumer about, I think that, Bernie said that about what he believes should be Biden's agenda. It should be, the most progressive since FDR. I think that there's a lot of I think that even the sort of technocratic left that we saw a lot of in the Obama administration sees, just even statistically, sees the economic ruin that's been going on, the unemployment numbers, the underinsured and the uninsured. They see the small businesses folding, even just even not in an ideological progressive lens like we come through. I feel like even the Democrats generally around Biden see quantitatively the economic pain, and they know how bad it is. I don't know whether that means that they're going to have an ideological response, but I don't think there's any hiding the problem, right? And so I think that there's going to be at least some shot, and I hope at pushing a fairly large first package that includes state and local, that includes a lot of the stuff that was in the House package, but hopefully not the Cobra subsidies.
Right, exactly.
I'm superstitious but anxious about, because now they're saying that Biden's underperforming in urban areas of Minnesota. I don't know. Sorry, didn't want to burst people's bubble, but
I've sort of come having gone through the Bernie primary and the ups and downs of the polls and everything else. I'm kind of programmed to stay between a 4 and a 6, so I'm not really worried yet. But we can be, don't believe before you're shot.
Let's have this conversation. So at the very least, if Biden does lose, we would have had this conversation. We'll have the opportunity to have it again if he does win.
Have you considered declaring Aliyah?
Mila just called into the show. I don't know if you heard her.
I did. Yes.
Oh, I should tell people that Josh was the first human being that we trusted to babysit Mila. So ever.
It's funny on the your photo album gives you the flashback stuff. It would have been 15 years ago.
Yep. It would have been 15 years ago. Almost, yeah, probably very, very much around here. Well, all right. So let me ask you this. So
you were saying Mila called in.
No, but before that, I was saying that do you think, all right, put aside for a moment the assessment of where we are in terms of the economy and what is needed and this and that. Do you think there has been a change from back in the day when we were, at Air America dealing with Democrats and even during the Obama years, frankly, do you think there's been a change in the assessment of the value of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, reaching across the aisle? I mean, or an assessment of the fact that there really is not a legitimate partner across the aisle because their electorate is just not forgiving of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple factors to that, because I agree with the premise. One is I think that there's no just a Mitch McConnell, right? And so I think that there's no one in the Senate caucus that can think, well, you know what, the Senate majority leader, the current majority leader, will give on X, Y, and Z, right? McConnell it's a binary world for him, and I think that there's a lot of internalization of that. Just that it's not just the Trump base that they think is inflexible, but it's just the Republican leader in the Senate. They just know the way he's operated, I think, has sunk into people. But I think there's a second thing, which is a little more, I guess it's more of a cynical analysis, but it just makes sense to me anyway. There's fewer people in the Senate Dem caucus who see a political margin in talking about that, who see a political margin in talking about reaching across the aisle. If you remember, you think about
with that said, hold on. I am sorry to interrupt, but we have a call from the Majority Report decision desk, which reports that Fox News decision desk is calling the Colorado Senate race for Hickenlooper.
Speaking of people who may or may not see a value in portraying themselves as someone who reaches across the aisle. I mean, think about the Senate caucus that existed in our Air America days in 2004 and 2005.
We were just talking about Blanche Lincoln.
Evan Bayh.
Yep.
Like the Nelson of Nebraska, right? Blanche Lincoln, even someone like Byron Dorgan, right, who maybe wasn't as sort of neoliberal, but still was very much a Senate institutionalist in terms of talking about reaching across the aisle.
Lieberman,
what's his name from Tennessee, who went on to Morning Joe? What's his name? The guy who I think he became
Ford.
I'm sorry.
Henry Ford. What's his name? Ford.
Oh, yeah. Henry Ford.
But yes, Ford. But
right.
he was he was in the Senate, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember him as a congressman. But
look. I don't necessarily think that the Senate Democratic Caucus is ragingly progressive right now, right? But I do think it's just the way that they think of there's just, if you come down to raw politics, there are fewer people who see a margin in sort of play acting this reach across the aisle sort of thing, because I think everyone in some way has been personally frustrated with McConnell and has had their own set of priorities shut down in some way. And so I just don't think messaging wise politically I don't think that has the margin anymore.
All right. One of the things that you and I talked about during those years was the filibuster. And there was filibuster reform, if I'm not mistaken. Now, we should just tell people, you have you currently work for Bernie Sanders. You have worked for Russ Feingold. You worked for Harry Reid in the leadership. And of course, you worked for me at Air America. So that's
I'm still the only person who went from Jeanine Garofalo to Harry Reid.
Right, there you go. And but we had talked, so I say that so that people can understand that you have a lot of experience in terms of the Senate.
Arguing about the filibuster?
Well, but arguing about the filibuster before you ever set foot in the Senate and after the fact.
Yeah, for sure.
But one of the things that we were talking about at that time was reforming the filibuster in terms of the numbers, right? Going from 60 to 55. And one of the things that we talked about, which I reference quite a bit, is this concept of, if you change the number from 60 to 55, particularly with the way that the Senate was constituted at that time, there will be people who will try and position themselves as the 54th and 55th vote,
right, for
the Democrats.
That's right.
And if it was at 60, they would position themselves as the 59th and the 60th vote.
Yeah, it's the Lieberman effect.
The Lieberman effect, and so.
And that's defined, I think, in a real world example by when they were negotiating the ACA, when at one point Lieberman was in favor of lowering the Medicare eligibility age.
Historically,
right?
He allowed for a buy-in.
Yes.
I think it was at 50 or 55.
Yeah, something like that. Until it seemed like it was going to happen, and it was no longer sort of the questionable, like he wasn't going to have microphones and cameras pointing in his face because he was the deciding vote. And so then he became against that, so that all the microphones on Capitol Hill would be stuck in his face again. How are you going to vote?
Now, this is a very hard concept, I think, for psychopathic people to understand, that someone would make a change in their stance about that implicates millions of people's health and ability to function, based upon just sort of like some ego wanting to have like news cameras in front of them. Like it's almost like normal people can't grok that. But that is a reality with politicians and some politicians in the Senate. If we have a situation where we get rid of the filibuster, so it's 51 votes as a threshold, right? Assuming that we have also a Democratic president. And if that is the case, is there a number where it becomes very difficult is there a number of Democratic caucus where it becomes very difficult to be that 49th or 50th vote? So in other words, like if there's 51 Democratic senators, being that 50th or 49th vote, that's not that hard, right? There's only 3 of you who need to position there. But if there's like 56 or 57 Democratic senators and the threshold is 50, it's like you got 7 people scurrying around to be the a-hole, and there's not that much room.
Yeah,
right?
and I think there's 2 things. One is there's not that much room. and two, the Lieberman characteristic is, I don't think that anybody, like, look, I think that if we take over the Senate, the incoming senators, I think if people would agree, are less progressive than the mean, right? Or
right.
whatever, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, I don't
also think a function of this of a lot of Republican senators going down.
Certainly,
this is the conservative cycle as opposed to 2022, which would be more liberal.
That's right. But I think we should separate two concepts. I don't think that a more conservative Democratic senator is the same thing as a Lieberman type who always wants to put themselves in the center. I think that you can be a mildly centrist Democratic senator and not always want to be the person that has the microphone shoved in their face. Now, that happens to overlap, right? The person who wants the microphone in their face by necessity is the one who is right on the cusp of wherever the vote is. But I don't think the Venn diagram overlaps entirely. So I think, yes, there's a question of how is the margin big enough so that there's just, Schumer can basically allow a few votes to not vote with the caucus because they think they need to politically, like a leader always does. And are there the people who constitutionally, almost like politically, their own their own image of their own branding, are they disposed to do that? And I'm not necessarily convinced that there's a psychology that quite reaches the extremes that we saw with Lieberman in the current caucus or the incoming, but hopefully incoming caucus. But I mean, I don't know. It remains to be seen. But I agree. The thing that solves everything is to have the largest possible margin,
right, because then it just becomes harder to sort of brand yourself as that person if you're having to shove like three other people out of that little block.
That's right.
Okay. Just an update on the numbers for what it's worth. And I don't know what it's worth. Because when you're talking about like somehow between 82 and 84% and 97% reporting, like that seems like a big gulf. In North Carolina, Biden is up by 1.5 points or so. But like the difference between 82...
it's about 120,000 votes, right?
Well, I mean, the difference between 82% reporting and 97% reporting is pretty...
15%.
It's pretty big. Yes, thank you. Josh, always very good at math. We don't have Union County in there, which is a big, heavily Republican county. I can't get into that link you sent me, Brendan, because I don't have an account. That was a mistake. My mistake. All right. How worried are you going to be if, because we're going to say goodbye in a couple of minutes, and then how worried are you going to be if North Carolina goes?
It's going to be this short. Okay. How worried will I be if North Carolina goes to Trump? I mean, more worried than I am now.
In 2016, Trump got 160,000 votes in Union County, and Union County is at 0% reporting, and it went like 60-30, which would suggest to me something like 40,000.
It could net 40,000 for Trump, is what you're saying.
It could net 120,000.
Well, how many votes did Clinton get in that county?
Well, I think close to 40. I don't know. That's my guess because it was a 60-30 split. So I don't know. I can't do the math there. But
Matt Grossman of 538 says the New York Times Needle now has North Carolina at 88% likely for Trump. If all three Southeast states they are tracking go to Trump, that would move national projections closer to 50-50.
Counties, you mean?
No, she's saying the Southeast states. That'd be Georgia, Florida, and
you're talking about the 88% Trump nationally?
Yeah.
No, that was in North Carolina. It's now at 88%.
Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. 2016, it was 66-33 in Union. So it only netted him 30,000 votes, and Biden's up 120,000 votes right now. So, but what seems
the question is if here's the thing: if Trump slightly underperforms himself from 2016, and it goes and maybe he only nets 20. Right, and those are significant things.
Right.
I mean, I'm
like what's happening, at least, in the context of Florida, is that he's outperforming himself. He's sort of doing what he did the first time, which is running up the score in red districts And it seems like he's even doing that from 2016.
In some places, and I think that he he won just enough of Black and Latino voters in Florida, more than he won last time, to add just a little bit of margin. But again, like I think we're going to win North Carolina.
All right. Well, I mean,
how long are you going to be on the air? Till 6 a.m. or something? How long are you going to be on the
air? We're actually an hour. It's been 9.5 hours almost. They've been on air.
So it's 12 no matter what.
Well, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I'm just saying, if we still have the uncertainty here, you're just gonna, what are you gonna pack it in?
Probably not.
Right.
I'll probably say goodbye to everybody, and I'm just gonna be on the Zoom screen.
Right. We can just Zoom each other and have the same conversation.
Bring you back on, Josh, if you'd like.
We'll talk. I mean, let's wait 2 hours and see where we are. But
I saw that 6-hour podcast you did at 1 a.m. with Josh Orton. That was pretty good. You guys were pretty good. That was
award winning.
Marjorie Taylor Greene has officially won. So QAnon,
my
QAnon
man.
rep.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right. Well, Josh, may talk to you in 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, and we should have some initial numbers from Wisconsin in the next hour, 45 minutes or so.
Are you more confident about Wisconsin this year than you were in 2016?
It's hard to compare because everything was wrong in 2016, right? I didn't know that there was a problem in Wisconsin until after the polls closed, right? And actually, the first indication that
is not confident building.
Yeah, but we know I know the coalition he put together in 2016 to win, right? And so we'll know pretty early. And I think actually the suburban Milwaukee, the sort of more affluent Republican counties, the WOW counties, the Waukesha counties, et cetera, they'll tell us a lot early, right? Because if, Trump needs to do 70% up in those counties and turnout needs to be up. And if he's not delivered, those are the Scott Walker based counties that delivered 3 elections to Scott Walker. And if they're not delivering the massive votes for Trump that he needs, it won't make up for Madison and Milwaukee. So we should know something in, next 45
Is it possible for Trump to do now we're at North Carolina, 50 to 20, 50, essentially Biden up again by 1.5, 86 to 99% in. So the difference is 75,000 for Biden. Union is still not in. So we know that's going to be around at least 30%, 30,000, right? So, we have no idea.
Yeah, right.
But how do you know that Trump won't do in Milwaukee what he did with the African American community in Florida?
I don't think that that vote is necessarily homogenous. I think that if Trump benefits from anything in Milwaukee, it'll be lower turnout, not flipped votes.
Okay.
But Milwaukee, unlike most places in Wisconsin, like Madison counts their absentee ballots along with everything else. Milwaukee counts all of its absentee ballots centrally and dumps them all at once, which will probably happen at 3 in the morning or so.
Oosh. Great.
Bye.
Bye, Josh.
Talk to you soon.
Fox News projects that the Democrats will hold the House, which is not shocking, but something to.
Right.
I am
there
not
you go.
confident about
Boom.
North Carolina. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the parts that was so horrible about 2016 is they had the entirety of government too.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
At the very least, we know that we have the House, and it's going to function, at least in some ways, as a shield of some measure.
The issue now we have a
Election desk has with 68 to 86% of votes in. Biden is up 50 to 48%, but
in North Carolina.
No, in Texas. South Carolina looks out of reach for Jamie Harrison. I don't know. It's still early, but I didn't expect him to win. He's down 9 points with 28% to 34%.
Ugh.
In.
He should have sent more emails.
Yeah, should have raised more money from libs. And by the way,
I took a week
great
off.
job, Dianne Feinstein. Sam brought it up earlier in the show, but thank you so much for normalizing that creature.
All right, we have to reset the YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah, you want to do that now?
Yeah, let's do that now, folks. So what's going to happen? Oh, we just need to do the YouTube, right? So that
Brennan, play the music for just a little bit, and we'll get it switched over. And
all right, I'll take this opportunity to run to the bathroom.
So Matt, how will people view the new YouTube?
The new part 4 link is in the description for part 3 here that we're currently in. So yeah.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment, folks.